The Blades Ramble is proudly sponsored by My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. Contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk for more information or follow the link in the description below.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is, well, I'm confident enough to say breaking news. This is why you should keep your notifications on for the Blades. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because you never know when we're going to go live, particularly when it's huge news like this. Now, it has not been 100% confirmed, but we are, or I've been hearing for a few days. Obviously, it first got murmured in the behind the Ramble watch along of England versus Senegal. So that was what, Tuesday night? We're now on Thursday morning. So, and I'm going to give credit absolutely where it's due, as I always try and do. It was Dead Bat from Tufty Club that had posted it on a forum. So that is where I first heard about these, or that was first brought to my attention from the Platinum Ramblers group. Yesterday, people are messaging me left, right, and centre. Is it true? Is it true? And I'm dismissing it outright. I'm saying until I hear anything, because I don't know Deadbat's sources. I've never spoken to Deadbat, to be fair. So nothing against him, but no sort of direct contact. So I don't know his sources. I don't know the credibility of it. Being on a platform like he is, you would think he wouldn't say anything like that without merit, but I didn't have enough to sort of run with it. But there's no smoke without fire usually, is there? And late last night, I started getting a few messages from more credible sources, and that's not to say that the people I did it from previously aren't credible, but they're untested, I suppose, is probably better to say. And this morning and late last night, people who I'm close to are confirming it now. 3 different sources for a channel. I don't have any sources. That's not bad, is it? But yeah, so 3 different strong places where I can confidently come on here now and say it looks like Chris Wilder will be leaving Sheffield United. And I am shocked by this. I am shocked. And I don't really know how to react. I'm a huge Chris Wilder fan. There's cards on the table, as always. I want Wilder to be in charge. I think he brings more to the table than just being a very good manager. I think there's an X factor to him being in charge of our club that levels us up a little bit. And that is just my personal opinion on it. Some people will dismiss that outright, and everybody's got their own view on things, and that's absolutely fine. I didn't know whether you got a little hint that we might be coming on this morning. By the way, I'm just looking at some of the things I've got saved down here, which is come on in. Normally we do 10-minute transfers on the channel. I was going to go live at like 7 o'clock this morning, but I thought that's a little bit extreme. I wanted to check it in 1 or 2 other places as well first. And then if I'd have gone live at like 8 when I'd had it confirmed, it'd have interrupted my school run. So I'd have had to jump off and then jump back on again, which doesn't always work. So yeah, so that cam video, the reason I'm laughing about it is instead of 10 o'clock, I had to tweet out about it at 25 past 8 and then put it out at 8:30 so I could be on now for 9. So check that out when you get a chance. But obviously it wouldn't have worked. It were a pre-recorded one, so it wouldn't have worked after this one, really. Because this is the news, isn't it? This is groundbreaking news for Sheffield United. What does it mean for our future as a club? It's staggering. I just want to go over a little bit of Chris Wilder's time with us. So he came in 16-17 in League One. We've been appalling under Nigel Atkins. and we finished first on 100 points after a dodgy start. It has to be said. I remember Jack O'Connell coming in. What were it, 500 grand or something, which is a big fee at that level, but came in from Brentford, scored an own goal, give a light back pass to whoever it were in goal at that time in another game. And in first 4 games, my dad, tenured scout, who I respect more than anybody in the game, what have we bought this load of rubbish for? And that's something I always hammer him for. But in those first 4 games, he and the rest of the team looked rubbish. And then he cleared out a load of high earners, brought in this hard-working, aggressive, front-footed style of football in League One, and a club record points tally saw us to the title that year. Then we entered the Championship in 2017-18 season, and we finished 10th in our first season back after going really well up until, was it January, February time, when Paul Coots got that horrendous injury. He was some player, by the way, and he got that injury, and it shattered a lot of the boys, because it was such a close-knit squad, which has been a hallmark under Wilder, the unity of the squad. And we never recovered. We never recovered from that. And we ended up finishing 10th that season, but we regrouped. And that was what I was looking forward to this season coming now, because we fell just short. We fell well short that season. But this is what it echoed to me of this second time around. We came so close last season, and it is last season now. It's in the rear view. We lost to Sunderland in playoff final. Fair play to them. But kept pace with the top 2. Also, we're in the top 2 for the majority of the season. I thought we'd regroup and go again with Wilder adding to this rebuild, but we'll come to that. So 18-19, we finished second, automatic promotion. A huge battle with Norwich were away, weren't they, as champions? And it were us and Leeds United like this all the time. They had Bielsa, who were an absolute revelation for them, it has to be said. Really, really strong side that we're up against. Well, I say really strong side. He made them a really strong side. It's a little bit like Wilder's had the same effect for us to a degree in terms of pulling out more out of players than they ever thought was possible. And we pipped them. And there were that now famous Muppets from Leeds and all this sort of thing, that memories that stick with you. And obviously going back to the League One thing where he's got the trophy and he nearly drops it. And can I wear that? Talking about the Mayors, I don't know whether that was the League One promotion or whether that was the Championship promotion, but just memories that stick with you. There were the Muppets from Leeds where we're in Sky Studios because we had to rely on somebody else's result. I think it were Leeds and Villa, and that was where Leeds scored a dodgy goal and Bielsa let Villa score, if I remember rightly. And they're all Blades are there celebrating George Baldock in the middle of it all. Just absolutely incredible memories. That's when we first he'd already sort of brought in the 3-5-2 at that stage, but that was where it really solidified with the overlapping centre backs, Mark Duffy in the 10, Chris Basham and Jack O'Connell either side of John Egan, and then Enda Stevens and George Baldock. It was just what a side, just incredible. And then we that for me was probably my favourite season, but a lot of people will lean towards the following season where we finished 9th in the Premier League in 2019-2020 season. And that was the highest top flight finish in a generation. Unbelievable season. Absolutely unreal. He'd already got the manager of the year the season prior, I think. He gained national recognition for his contributions to the game, really, not just how he'd sort of brought Sheffield United on. And that was the peak. That was the peak of our time with Chris Wilder in charge and our peak of modern day Sheffield United. 9th in the Premier League, just missing out on Europe, just sort of tapered off towards the end. And then the following season is where it all started to unravel a little bit. For him personally, or as the Blades manager, obviously, but for him and the club, obviously it was the COVID season. We lean towards that hindering us perhaps more than others. But again, people will be objective with that, and I understand it. It'll affect different clubs in different ways. But we really struggled that year. I think you could point to the Brewster recruitment and things like that, where we tried to spend big and probably mislaid some of our finances. It's probably fair to say some injury problems to big players. Jack O'Connell going down was absolutely monumental for us. We lost Dean Henderson. We brought in Aaron Ramsdale as a permanent goalkeeper, who ended up being a good signing for us in terms of the return that we got, but he wasn't a patch on Dean Henderson in terms of his performance in the Premier League. And then it just went sour. It went sour between the existing board then, Prince Abdullah and Chris Wilder. It was rumoured for some time that he was trying to negotiate his exit. And in, I think it was March of 2021, he left. Yeah, and it left a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths, really. Unfortunately so, because we'd had such an incredible rise. And it's the club backed him, but a lot of this success was on the shoulders of Chris Wilder. And one sour season sort of tainted a little bit of that for some fans. And the fact that he'd always talked about leaving a legacy and going out the front door was, it sort of spoiled it for some fans, the way that he left, which is a shame. So I was absolutely over the moon to have him return. I think it was December 2023 when Eki got sacked. Did Eki get sacked in the November? No, because it was an immediate turnover, weren't it? So Wilder was already in pole position, I believe. So he'd had a spell at Watford and Borough, which I can argue for him for both of those spells. That's not what it's about today. It's about respecting and appreciating what he's done for United. He returned in, I think it was the December 2023 in the Prem. And some would say he had enough time to turn it around. Ultimately, he didn't. We had a January window, and he's come out previously and said that, in as many words, I'm paraphrasing, but that squad was shot. That there was no, there were no saving us that season. Essentially, he said in not so many words, a lot of the stuff he'd done, he wasn't blaming Eki, but for one reason or another, a lot of the work and sort of ethos and culture that he'd built had been unravelled a little bit. So not everybody welcomed his return as well, it's fair to say. And I think he's had to work hard to change this perception of him or return to a previous perception of him. And he famously said at the end of that season, which is now the season before last, we've had players who haven't given everything for the shirt this season, players who've dropped their heads, and punters were leaving, and I understood why punters were leaving early, but they won't be leaving early next season because we won't have players that don't give 100%. We'll have Sheffield United players, and they will come and they will give everything for this shirt. And in the summer, we saw, 18 to 20 players leave, and that's big for any club, that sort of turnover. But it's huge when you think about the sort of names that were involved, not just because of the wages that were coming off the bill, but the legacy of the players that were leaving. Ollie Norwood left, John Egan left, Ollie McBurney left, George Baldock, God rest his soul, left. And these huge, huge names and personalities left the club. And that was a lot of our identity. So Wilder then had to piece it all back together again in the summer. And I thought did a really good job. We were at a -2 due to a mismanagement of finances with a failed takeover bid at that stage. Then over this summer, and it stretched from this summer just gone, to the January, we were in a protracted takeover conversation, which finally happened towards the end of the January window, I think. Oh, did it? No, to the end of it all blurs into one. But he certainly managed the club over a takeover process. And it's just been really chaotic, I suppose, in a lot of ways, in terms of we're almost a blank page that he came into. And he rebuilt confidence. He reinstilled a culture that we can be proud of. Not only that, we beat the Wendy's twice, which is a huge, huge thing. not everybody watching. There's over. This is the most we've ever had, I think, because there's nearly 2,300 people here, and some of those may not be local and may not be Sheffield United fans and may not know what it means to beat Sheffield Wednesday, but to do the double over them is huge for us as a city and as a club. So not only did he do that, we had the -2 points deduction, which we used to galvanise us really. Rather than our heads drop, we then lost our captain, Ollie Arblaster. We lost our best defender, Harry Souter, on loan. He'd brought in already an unbelievable goalkeeper in Michael Cooper. He brought in Tyrese Campbell on a free when people had written him off. He managed to persuade players like Callum O'Hare to choose us over other really strong championship competition. I know I keep sort of nudging and poking the bear with this one, but he certainly did have conversations with Leeds and Burnley. So, and he chose us. A lot of players chose us because of Chris Wilder, and that can't be underestimated either in terms of the effect that he has. And a lot of those players ran through brick walls for us. The huge thing that we had to overcome, unfortunately, was George Baldock passed away during the season, fairly early on, obviously. And if you think it, if you're a Blade, you'll know how this felt, how losing George felt. And it was incredibly sad and still is, still upsets people now to think about it. And I'm not going to dwell on this point. But you think it was hard for us. Imagine people that genuinely, it was hard for us because we felt like we knew him. And most of us didn't know him. We just knew of him. And it was a huge part of what we love about our club. Hardworking, understood what it meant to play for the shirt, loved the club, and the club loved him. Imagine if a lad that we've all fallen in love with from afar, imagine if he actually is your pal, like he was for a lot of those lads in that changing room. And yeah, we lost to Leeds, we lost to Middlesbrough directly after that. And you think this season might now tail off, and that's the way it could be. But Chris Wilder, as a leader of men, managed to refocus that team. And yeah, a lot of players were new and didn't play with George, but his shirt has been up in every changing room, home and away this season. That's been widely reported. So to galvanise the team and get them back up and playing for George and for the club, and you know, what would he want you to be like this season? How would he want you to represent him? You know, young players coming through like Ollie Arblaster, Siddy Peck, Femi Sariki, obviously, is a young right back coming through. They'll have idolised George Baldock. People, his peers that played alongside him, not many left, admittedly, in this squad, but just what a legacy he left. So Chris Wilder steered the ship through a really difficult season, kept tabs on Burnley and Leeds all year, looked at for a really long time, or certainly a significant period at the business end of the season, like we were going to do it. And we just fell away at the end. And it's disappointing, and we're all disappointed with it. But ultimately, that's what's happened. And we then went to Wembley, and, you know, it's just not happened for the Blades this season. One decision changes the whole game, the VAR decision. And that's not why Sunderland won. That Sunderland won on merit. Please don't anybody get the narrative twisted. I'm not bitter about the result. I'm very disappointed. I'm not bitter about it. I don't think, oh, poor old Sheffield United. We were 1-0 up when that decision got changed. It's down to us to shape our own mentality. And we've lost out this season, but he's beat Wednesday twice. He's seen us through a remarkably difficult period and rebuilt us as a club in his image, as he wants to see a Sheffield United side. And that mirrors what a lot of us want from a Sheffield United side as well. So his legacy, what is Chris Wilder's legacy going to be? I think he's the best Blades manager of our era. Certainly, obviously, people that go a little bit further back than me, the majority say Dave Bassett. But I think Chris Wilder, people will look back and he'll always be in the conversation for the greatest ever. And so he should be. So he should be. He took United from mid-table in League One to a top 10 finish, top 9 finish in the Premier League. A lifelong Blade, ball boy, player, manager, lived our dream. Unbelievable. His impact will resonate at Bramall Lane for years and years to come. And I'm saying it like this, like it's the end, because I think this probably is now. If the rumours are true, and I have to say, again, this is not 100% confirmed as yet, but it is as close to being confirmed as I can get, and they're very strong sources. I'm just going to double check what's been said, and I'll only share. I'm certainly not going to jeopardize anything that anybody's told me, but a couple of things just for clarity as well. Some of the stuff I'm hearing, a decision was always going to be made today, one way or the other. We were always going to get an answer today. There's no issue from Chris Wilder's end about not wanting to work with the data. These are development signings, and they're not even part of his role. They're not part of his remit. They don't affect or impact the first team. If they come in and are good enough, it's a bonus, because these development signings are somewhat experimental and will lead to, you know, risk or reward, isn't it? Dave the Nose was saying last night in our Platinum chat, if 1 out of 5 works, it's well worth the risk. It's how Brighton and Brentford originally started before they refined what they do. Obviously, they're better set up to do this sort of thing than we are, but it'd be interesting to find out what the reasoning is for the change. Is it just a case of they don't feel like Wilder can push us forward? Do they feel like he's a bit old school, which I think would be harsh? So we can speculate all day long. We don't know, do we? But this is what I'm hearing this morning, and there's over nearly 3,500 people in here now, which is absolutely insane. If I was stood up in front of 3,500 people, I would freeze. So thank you to everybody that's joining me this morning. If you're not already, I'm going to say it now, please do like and subscribe. What I tend to do here on my usual streams, when I've got half of these numbers, is go through the comments. So I am going to... Why is there nearly 3,000 on X and 600 on YouTube? Get yourselves over to YouTube, support the channel and the breaking news, if you would, please, and help us out. It'd be very much appreciated. Anyway, normally at this stage, for those of you that are new, because there's several of you that will be new, I would read the comments out, and I'd try and read every single one. There is absolutely zero chance. I could be here till 5 o'clock and I won't get through them all. So just a few that we'll point out, and I'm going to focus on the YouTube comments, because people that have come over from on YouTube are supporting us the right way. So Scott says, all the rumours are out there. No smoke without fire. Absolutely right. Uh-oh, says Tom. Season over. Wilder gone, says Jack. New owners out. Nah, all jokes aside, who actually posted that Wilder has gone? Well, I'm not at liberty to say it, unfortunately. Didn't see that coming, says FV White. Nor did I until the original rumours broke. And then, look, there was, after the playoff final, just because obviously FV White's from Leeds, there's a few Leeds fans that have joined us now since we did content with Connor last season. And we'll hopefully be doing more next season as well, if it fits. Just for context to those that aren't aware, after the playoff final, there was significant talk of them making a change, because ultimately, when you strip it all back, no matter the success that we have just listed that he has and the history that he's had with the club, the remit was to get us promoted, and he's not done that. It doesn't take into context that we had 2 teams in the league that got 100 points, by the way, who were very, very good teams, superb teams at the level. We competed with them all year, but that's by the by. So there was talk then, and then it seemed to taper off a little bit. And then you get linked with players, and we've been doing videos on players for the last 2 weeks now in terms of signings that we've been linked with. Players like Jimmy Dunn, who is a Chris Wilder player all day long. And different, like Cam Brannigan, the one that we've just put out this morning. We've had to push it forward because obviously we knew that this video were coming out. So Cam Brannigan is a Chris Wilder player. These are solid, strong, great options at the level. Now, that might be completely against what the ownership are doing. The thing here is, and again, it's stuff we've speculated on in our chat and both on the Ramble as well. This is so untested in terms of the ownership. What do they want from a manager? Because Chris Wilder, I think, is perceived from the outside to be quite old school. A lot of the paper talk nationally, not locally. I will always say that our local papers know the club and they would not paint it in a false light. But nationally, it's, Chris Wilder won't like this AI business. Alan Nixon's, throwing darts at the wall again. With this, we're never going to end well with Chris Wilder and AI. That's got nothing to do with this decision. But from the outside looking in, he may be perceived, and I think he is perceived for people that don't know him and don't know how he's operating, to be a bit of an old school manager. And there are certainly elements of that, but elements that I value. Do they want... So if they're wanting something totally different, they might... See, I would now be looking, because we have to now... I'm gutted at this decision, if I'm honest. But first and foremost, I'm a huge Chris Wilder fan, but first and foremost, I'm a Sheffield United fan. So I want what's best for the club. And I have to trust these new owners in what decisions they are making. So I now move on and think, what would be your preferred manager? And my initial thought is Sean Dyche. And that will not excite some Blades. And it will not, because the football is said to not be great. Not that I've studied it enough recently. But he will get us out of this league. Sean Dyche gets us out of this league and into the Premier League. However, if he is seen to be a similar mould to Chris Wilder in terms of bit old school, blood and thunder, try and play a solid, rough style of football. And Chris Wilder didn't necessarily do that. But do you know what I mean? From the same sort of thought process of manager, he might want somebody in the ilk of a name, like Burnley did with Vincent Kompany, like Borough did with Michael Carrick. Don't be surprised if Gerrard gets linked with us or something like that. Frank Lampard might get linked with us because they're names. And if you think of it as a business, obviously we know that as football fans, we know there's so much more to it than just a name and reputation. They obviously bring contacts and they bring eyes. But there's so much more to football management than that. Sean Dyche would be a much better choice than Steven Gerrard, in my opinion. He's not as glamorous an appointment. He's not as... there's not as much exposure for the club with a Sean Dyche appointment. So you don't know what route they're going to go down for a replacement. We've got 4,300 people here. What is going on? You don't know. We just don't know. So it's a little bit daunting. Is it a little bit late to do this? Because if you were going to make the decision, why not make it straight after the playoffs? Why wait 2 weeks while he's getting all his plans underway? I mean, it might be the first time they could all get together. I'm not entirely sure. Get back to some comments. See, Loft says, told you he had to go. No way, says Rico. This is bad news for the club and the fans, says Danny. Chris won't want AI players, in my opinion, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Look, I have it on very good authority. This is nothing. He has not kicked off about AI signings at all. He is not expected to include AI signings as part of his first team. They are long-term project players that the board have gotten as a longer-term strategy. Obviously, at some stage, they will want them to be bled into the first team because that's only natural. But if it's not an immediate expectation. Dane with our Platinum Ramblers says, if we got little to spend, then Wilder is the man. If we're spending in this window, then I can see why they want to replace. Would you trust Wilder with a load of cash? His track record with cash isn't the best. I would try and argue this point, Dane, but then you will smack back at me with Ryan Brewster and Ollie McBurney, which I struggle to defend. Daz, another one of our Platinum Ramblers, says, only just up and after a first brew, this is what I'm waking up to. Yeah, I know. Mr. V, Mr. Vancouver, one of the best people I have ever met. And I've not properly met you, but one of the best people I know. Thank you, Mr. V, for everything. I am both shocked and disappointed that Wilder will not be leading our beloved club this upcoming season. I thought he deserved to be given the chance to finish the rebuild. I thought exactly the same, Mr. V. Those are my thoughts exactly. Great minds think alike. And thank you for being a true friend. Just give us an AI manager in the form of Robot Maneki on the touchline. Oh, Tom, that's the way forward. That's the way it'll be. In 10 years' time, we will have a hologram manager, won't we? That's probably going to be the way. Marky Mark says, oh my God, who next? Oh, madness, utter madness. Gutted, to be honest, says Peak. Whoa, what's gone off here? I have to reiterate, not 100% confirmed, but I would say you know me by now, but there's nearly 5,000 people here. So you don't all know me probably, but those that have been watching for a while know that I would not go live with this if I wasn't very sure that it was. I trust my sources, and they've not been wrong before. And one's non-committal, and two are saying, "Yeah, it looks likely, pal." Gutted, to be honest, says Chris. He is and was our manager, a champion for our club. Worried about who comes in and what it means for the likes of Gus. But the proof will now be in the pudding as to who comes in next. Look, this, Chris, I agree with you, pal, and thank you for your support, being a Rambler. Tim says, very bad news to wake up to. I hope it's not true, but sounds like it is. This could go one of two ways, because we have seen it happen before. The most recent example of it was when Bournemouth sacked Gary O'Neill. And a lot of people thought that were very harsh, very, very harsh at the time. And they brought in Iraola straight up, and never looked back, really. They have been in the mix at the top half of the Premier League all season. Was it harsh for Forest to sack Steve Cooper? Maybe a bit ruthless, but they brought in Nuno. You know, there's other examples that you can think of, isn't there? That the one that I always think back to is Nigel Adkins. He bounced Southampton from League One to the Premier League. As soon as they looked like they were in trouble in the Premier League, got sacked. They replaced him. Was that when Hasenhüttl came in? No, that was when Pochettino came in, weren't it? I think originally. Safe, no danger. So, yes, it's very harsh, and I am gutted because I think Chris Wilder gives us an X factor that we can't get elsewhere. And yes, it's a weak excuse for some that that he's a blade and that shouldn't count for anything, but it means something to us because he's not just a blade, is it? He's a chest beating blade. He's one of us, like quite literally. And Dane's just messaging in Platinum Group. I smack back with more than Brewster and McBurney. I talk about Callum Robinson. Mousse, I push back on. Mousse, yes, it was a 6-month purple patch, but he more than paid back that 10 million quid. Luke Freeman, the list with money isn't great reading. Put it in here because you'll never see it. Well, there you go, pal. There you go. I've seen it. Let's have a look. Oh, 5,300 people. Absolutely ludicrous. If you're not already, please do go over to the Blades Ramble and subscribe. I'm only reading YouTube comments, so I appreciate somebody will be window shopping here. But if you want to jump in and get involved in the conversation, then get on YouTube, please. Mark says, Sean Dyche, you watch good. We're on the same wavelength. We're on the same. And it feels like Dead Man's Boots, doesn't it? A little bit, because we're straight away. But I can't. I'm gutted, but I can't say I'm shocked because the jungle drums have started for a little while, aren't they? I didn't believe it yesterday. And then late last night, I started to believe it. So I've probably had a little bit of time to get my head around it and then start to think about what we could. My business group's own, John Asquith, I'm going to tell all 5,500 of you, if you have got a business and you want to expand that business and hone in on how you can get better, the Ramble will be nowhere near where we are without this man and his company, My Business Group. So thank you to John. And I'm going to read his comment about Sheffield United now. 92 points after a complete overhaul of the squad. Come on. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. By the way, 27th of June, if you know anybody going to a 90-day planning session with My Business Group for your business, then they can get you a free ticket to attend that. I would strongly advise anybody to go to that. Absolutely incredible. Morning, Jimmy. I wouldn't be shocked if he had gone. He's stubborn, plays his favourites, only played young lads because he had to. Quality Prem defenders stuck on the bench, players playing out of position. What more can we say? Yeah, there was certainly... Look, at a time like this, Nige, up the Blades, up the Ramble, up behind the Ramble, which is our second channel. If any of you newbies want to go over and check that out, like and subscribe. I am purely focusing on a lot of the positives, Nige, and I'm conscious of that. I am a Wilder fan, as you all know, but there were flaws this season, or certainly questionable decisions. I think some of the tactics at times, some of the way we sort of went on towards the end of some games were questionable at times. And I don't think that's a Wilder thing, but I think that's an overall squad confidence thing. I don't think he's been asking them to sit back at 1-0, but is it an overall confidence in themselves, which obviously the manager is largely responsible for? And the big one for me is Jack Robinson playing over Rob Holding, which I never understood. And not again, I have to caveat that with, we don't know the situation behind that. I'm not questioning the former manager of the year, the man who's got us up to the Premier League, the man who's led us to a 9th place finish. He is more qualified than all of us to do that job. But as a fan, and as fans will rightly speculate, I have no idea why. Surely he can see that Holding's a better player. And the only thing I can think is that Holding could not maintain fitness to maintain a run in the team because he'd been out of action for so long. That is the only out I can give it. And it's just an opinion, and that's what football's about, isn't it? Helen says, there's one positive to take from this. Jack Robinson might not be favourite anymore. Well said, Helen. Hope you're well as well. Thank you for jumping on. Pigs were saying the other day that Sausage Roll were talking to United. That is a whole new video in itself. But I'll be very interested to know how Blades would take to Danny Roll being linked with the Sheffield United job. The one thing we have said all season, that we have laughed at Sheffield Wednesday. We rarely mention them on this channel. Their chairman and their owner is an absolute disgrace. Pay your people, you absolute charlatan. Football aside, pay your people, absolutely ludicrous. But on the pitch, you're rubbish. You've got a terrible squad. He has pulled them up. There's no doubt about it. And I think all Blades, when they've got a sensible head on, will say that he has done a good job with Sheffield Wednesday. And that's why he's sought after by top-end championship clubs, and he's been talking to Bundesliga clubs. So I think he's let himself down as well in terms of how he's acted towards the Wendy's, which, again, I laugh at, but we want that at our club. He stinks of pig meat now that he's been there. Do we want him because of that? Probably not. But if you look at him as isolated as a manager, would he be a good appointment? And some people might argue, yes, it would cause serious rucks in the fan base. It would certainly split opinion. It would be a huge call from the new owners. But it would also be a hilarious dig at those that, from the blue half, that want to keep him. Can you imagine that? So, loads to think about. Jason says, Cooper, ? Cooper has got a job with the FA, hasn't he? And rumours are that he's not keen to jump straight back in to domestic management, was what I heard. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Jack says, don't understand this decision. 30 points gets us up in the majority of 90 points. Why give him a 3-year contract, then get rid? Be interesting to see who comes in, and new systems can be exciting. Well, at the time, obviously, he was doing really well. And if we would have been promoted to the Premier League, which we were 20 minutes away from being, then he would still be in charge. So David says, hi, as I'm in Australia, I'm not up to speed with the latest news. Is it true about Wilder or just a rumour? Where has this come from exactly? I know I've touched on this since you've commented, so it is a strong rumour at this time. I cannot 100% confirm it, but it is getting it. I am confirming it to the absolute maximum that I can as a rumour that is very likely to happen. Let's have a look. Alan says blue 10 million. So if any of you are on X, you'll have seen Darren Smith's post that said it wasn't Wilder's call to bring in Tom Cannon. So I didn't know whether that was out there for everybody to know, but he certainly wasn't unhappy with it. He was offered Tom Cannon by the club, essentially. Would you like it? Would I like a really good championship striker to come in? Yes, I would. Thank you very much. So David says, what are they thinking about? In my opinion, it's got to be AI that has done this. I never thought it would accept it. Oh, I thought you made the decision. I never thought it would accept it. It could backfire on them with the squad being devastated by this news. It could. It's not the AI decision from everything I'm being told, pal. Not that 6,700 in here. Absolutely incredible. If you want to jump over to YouTube, you've been massively helping us out. Thank you very much. Relegation is on the cards now. That's going to upset everybody at Sheffield United, says Paul. Not at all. Not at all. Don't believe that for a second. Lee says, this buying big story is not the only tyrant. It's incorrect and without nuance. Buying big. All right, in terms of the owners are going to sack him and go big and bigger and better. Is that what you mean, Lee? Michael says, if this is true, absolutely shocking. Probably the best manager we've ever had. I'm disappointed. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Mass exodus of 5 or 6 players at the minute, says Paul. And that is probably a concern now. I think we're all laughing at one stage that Ollie Arblaster, it's a poorly kept secret that he's seeing Wilder's daughter. So it was like, well done, Wilder, masterstroke to keep the star man, the star boy, the new star boy in the ranks. And who knows whether that's still going to be a thing? Does that make Ollie Arblaster now look around and say, well, my father-in-law's not going to be there. I don't have to stay to keep him happy anymore. I think we'll still get a bit of time with Ollie Arblaster, but is Gus staying for Chris Wilder? Is Jack Robinson staying for Chris Wilder? That's a joke, obviously, but some of these players might have come in for Chris Wilder. Callum O'Hare, for example. You don't know, do you? Donna says, hope you're well. Letting Wilder go would be a madness. Even a Muppet from Leeds could see that. Dave says the new owners are going to have to get his replacement absolutely correct or we're in trouble. Liam says, morning, Jim. You never know, a change might be good. Rob Edwards, no, thank you. Even though he might go to Borough. Sean Dyche, yes. Steve Cooper, I wouldn't be against. Rude, no for me. Jay says, personally, I think we've gone as far as we can with Wilder. We had the best chance to go up, and that run of 3 losses took it away from us. He doesn't fit with our new owner's vision. Yeah, I think that's been widely speculated, Jay, in terms of they don't mesh. He's not their man, is he? But they did hand him a 3-year contract when he were doing well through the season. Sean says, the biggest question is if true, has he walked or was he pushed? Is this the board not wanting him or him not wanting the board or Dyche? It's Dyche or Cooper for me. I think Sean Dyche is a layup, to be honest, if we can get him. Brand says, morning, Jimmy. Not sure I agree with Wilder going. It's incredibly harsh. Incredibly harsh. Very, very harsh. The board after Danny Roll. You heard it here first. I have heard it prior to that, Brand, to be fair, but Daz says, I'll be disappointed but not surprised if this is true. I wasn't convinced by his return, but back to the man and the club's decision. Some interesting names being mentioned. Yes, yeah. Jace says, I hope that's a wind-up about speaking to Roll. Oh, dearie me. Didn't have this on my summer bingo card, says Josh from Leeds. Wait, is the thumbnail real? Unfortunately so, Will. Unfortunately so, pal. Chris says, hurrah, now let's have a manager that plays front foot attacking football. If we don't win a game or don't go up, I at least want to be entertained and see exciting games, not playing negatively. Interesting, Chris. You've been fairly strong on that throughout in terms, and again, that's fine. It's people's opinions. I want people to actively but constructively disagree with what I'm saying. So Chris is delighted that this could be happening, or is very likely to be happening now. But you're saying it's to play exciting football and exciting games. If Sean Dyche comes in, that might not be guaranteed. And this isn't a slight on Sean Dyche. In fact, this is a bit of a stereotypical view of Sean Dyche football because of how long he spent with Burnley. But if he doesn't play exciting football and give you exciting games, but gets us up, would you be happy with that? I don't know. Kev says, Blaster will leave now. Future father-in-law's gone. Stevie Holmes says, so all the so-called Wilder targets will now go in the trash can. Steve Cooper, for me, proven promotion winner. Jimmy says, could it be argued that Wilder was given money in 2 windows and blown it? He's certainly not blown the initial summer window. Some questioned the January signings, which I thought made us a better squad, if I'm honest. The signings individually didn't necessarily all work, but I thought it made us a stronger squad. You look at the bench second half of the season, and it was, it was much better. Daz says, if Roll does come, does he bring Max Lowe back? We can only hope, pal. We can only hope. Dom says, Wilder has got the pull to bring the players in, but tactically he's got it wrong so many times this season. 7,500 people here, by the way. Only 10% here on YouTube. If you want to come over, I'm reading comments from YouTube. Please support the channel by coming over and subscribing. It would be very much appreciated. This is, a big step for us making a breaking news video of this magnitude. I don't normally do videos like this until it's 100% signed, sealed, and delivered. But as I say, the 3 sources that I've got it from independently have all assured me that, it's just a matter of time, pal, now. It's all just being worked out. Gutted, says Alex. Let's have a look. We won't go down, but we could end up mid-table, says Tom, one of our Platinum Ramblers. Phil says, by all accounts, the owners weren't happy that he didn't put subs on straight away when Anel was injured at Wembley. We'll never know, will we, Phil? I don't know who you've heard that from, and that might be right. That might be right, but we'll never know if that's the case. Mark Meldrew says, if Chris has gone, it's a terrible decision from the club. Only going one way if they get rid, backwards. We don't know that, pal. This is why you called Mark Meldrew. Very sort of snap, it's emotional reactions, which I love, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're going backwards, does it? I love Chris Wilder. I love Chris Wilder. I'm his champion, everything he does. And that's why I spent the first 10, 15 minutes talking about his achievements with us. But we're going to stick with the club anyway, aren't we? We're going to back the club, whatever happens. Because as Wilder will, by the way, when he left the first time, he was very supportive of Slav coming in. And that's not that he backed the appointment, but he were basically saying at Steve Cowan's book launch, he were telling people, we'll be all right. We'll be all right under Slav. Don't worry about it. We'll be all right. As it turns out, we weren't. But what I'm saying is he sees the bigger picture as well. He sees the bigger picture. And I think we should try and look at it that way as well if we can. And it may take some more time for others. I understand that. Dave, our Cornish Blade says, Jimmy, do you want me to have a trip over to that 100% Blade, Mr. Warnock? No, thank you. No, thank you. Scum Army says it's a race to Danny Roll, who will get him. I couldn't tell which team you're from, to be honest, mate. Jay says, Wilder doesn't fit the vision of the new owners, not commercially attractive enough. Again, this is what I were alluding to with will it be somebody like a Steven Gerrard? It goes back to the old Brian Robson appointment by McCabe, doesn't it? Where getting a name in. He's here. I knew you'd be here, Dave Webster. Gone of our own. Unbelievable. Poor from you. He's absolutely delighted. Dave Webster, who has notoriously been trolling anybody that has positive things to say about Chris Wilder. Certainly not a fan of his. Everybody's got their own opinion, pal. Dan says, what do you think about Sellers as the replacement? It's a name I've heard. He's never done it at the top of the Championship, has he? I don't know. There'll obviously be more content to come on who could possibly replace him. We're nearly on 8,200 in here. Absolutely ridiculous. If Wilder is gone, I honestly hope not. It'll take a big name and give them plenty of resources to do their job. Like and subscribe, folks. It's free and helps the channel. Thank you, Lee. Very much appreciated. One of my top boys. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. I can go back to Bassett, Warnock, but Wilder is still at the top, says Michael. And some people will feel like that as well. My dad will tell you Bassett's the best ever, but Wilder's a very close second. Joking aside, should have kept Wilder. He'd get you up next season, says Martin. I'm glad I didn't read the first bits that you were joking about, to be honest. Vex says, feel sick to the stomach thinking about the club without him. No manager better suited for the Blades. That's how I feel, to be honest, mate. David Webster says, terrible recruitment. He's gone. Good luck to the team from a Leeds fan. I've really enjoyed your channel. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that, pal. I'm not going to keep reading these, Dave Webster, but it shows people who haven't yet seen your contributions to the channel. Sunday League Tactics, gone. We are a channel that are here for everybody's opinions. We are not we're a Sheffield United channel. It's not a last one. Talking front foot, but playing on the retreat, gone. Right, that's your last one. But it's a platform for everybody's opinion. So this is what we want to get out there. And as long as it's done respectfully, it can be done any way, any which way you want. The board have now heaped pressure on themselves. Yes, they have. That's true, Brad. They absolutely have to get this transfer window and manager appointment right. And we don't want to turn into a Watford. I definitely don't want Sean Dyche, says Steve. Seen a lot of rumours, says Scott, that it's Danny Roll is the owner's favourite at the minute. Alistair says, if this is true, I'm absolutely gutted. Yeah, I know, mate. I know. Wilder's a throwback to a different time. Not polished. A PR disaster, says Red. Who more often than not makes headlines for acting like a fan. It can't be for footballing reasons, as last season was positive. Really strong point. Really strong point. And I think that may well have something to do with it. He makes no apologies for being an outspoken, heart on his sleeve, honest manager. Never has. You'll never change that element of him. I think he has changed in terms of his second phase. He's been a different character to a degree than his first. We've seen him lose the head a couple of times in the second stint. Obviously, at Plymouth, I don't think he covered himself in glory, and a couple of other times this season. But I think he's been different this time around, but that is one element of his personality that I personally wouldn't want to change, but it doesn't always mesh with a polished professional image that a Vincent Kompany per se would give you. I'm not saying it will be Vinny Kompany. Obviously, he's now at Bayern, but that is the example of when Burnley made that change from a Sean Dyche type manager, complete 180 to a Vincent Kompany. And they went for a completely different approach, didn't they? And that may well be what we're in for here. I would like a Sean Dyche, but I wouldn't be surprised because we don't know. It's so unpredictable. Lampard, Christ no, says Lee. United need a manager that won't have a negative playing style, says Jack. Michael says should stick with Wilder. Farker at Leeds United lost playoff final in 23-24 in his first season. Yet Leeds United stuck with him. They rebuilt in the summer and now promotion. Give Wilder another season at least. Not Sean Dyche, please, no, says Jason. Michael, in relation to that, it's done. We won't be on now if it wasn't. In my opinion, it's done because, again, I trust the sources that are reporting it to me. I may look daft if it don't come off, but it will be the first time any one of them individually has been wrong. And two of the three have confirmed it, and a third one has said, I'll get back to you in a little bit. We'll talk later. Okay, so see, David, we have to be realistic here, and I don't think this is a realistic shout. If he's gone, get Ange Postecoglou. I think that's too ambitious. And I'm not saying you can never be too ambitious as a club, but I think that's out of our reach, if I'm honest. I do think that's out of our reach. Still not being reported on Blades Ramble saying this. Are we sure he's gone? We'll have to wait and see, pal. You have to wait and see. No, we're not 100%, but I am 95% sure, because I wouldn't be on otherwise. It's a wilder team, allowing one more season to get the Blades to the Premier League, says Michael. With a new manager, it will take time to bed in. The players have to get used to him and vice versa. It's our last season of parachute payments. It is a little bit make or break, I think. So if they don't believe in Chris Wilder, that would be a huge gamble to make that call. Look at Forest. Cooper took over with them, I think, 5th bottom and got them promoted after going on a silly run of wins. He did. But Wilder's done a lot of things historically brilliantly with Sheffield United, and it doesn't mean they're always going to repeat those feats, does it? But yeah, it's a strong point. I don't trust this data-driven rubbish, says Michael. We'll plummet using these substandard third world players. So just a bit of clarity, Michael. I don't believe, from everything I'm hearing again, and it's not, I've not had as detailed conversations as I've had about this Wilder situation, but I don't believe that any of these current signings that we're making, the 2 that we made last season in Jeff and Chris, and I don't believe this current one that's come in. I think he's probably closer to the first team, but they are a million miles away from the first team. You cannot judge them, their stats in a Bulgarian league compared to even League 2 standard, because we don't know the discrepancy in standard, do we? So they will need a lot of time to bed in, adapt. I think it's us dipping our toes in for a longer term vision, personally. Sheffielder says, in a shock move, Sheffield United appoint Sausage Roll as new manager. That would be something, wouldn't it? James says, signed a new player yesterday, which he announced. Do not get this. It'd be a blow. Did he announce it? Or did the club quote him on certain things, which they could have got remotely? They could have had in the can for a couple of days. But yeah. Craig says, strange one for me. As a Leeds fan, I've been happy to give him another season, surely. Is that because you're a Leeds fan? Michael Carrick says, Blue Yonder. Not for me. If you can't do it at Middlesbrough, and this is no disrespect to Middlesbrough, they're always a real threat in the Championship, then he's not a manager that we'd want to push us to the Premier League, personally. I don't think so, anyway. Sonny Glasby of Glasby's Pallets, sponsor of Behind the Ramble, our second channel. Thank you for your support, pal. Good morning, Jimmy. I just had a great meeting and the group chat exploded afterwards. What's your take on it? Do you think he's gone? I just joined, so sorry if this has been discussed already. And that was, I'm only about 20 minutes behind in the comments, which is good for me. Yeah, Sonny, you've probably heard me say, pal, but this is more or less nailed on now because of the places it's come from. And I may look daft saying this out loud, because it will be 3 strong sources that have never let me down before, 2 of which are already confirming that this has happened. So I'm willing to stick my neck out and say I am very confident that this is going to be the case, unfortunately. What's my thoughts on it? I think it's a real shame. Time will tell whether it's the right decision or not. I would have kept him, personally. And maybe that, but is that for selfish reasons? Because I love him as a manager and as a person? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Up the Blades Ramble, says Matthew Warnock on his way back. Paul says, Dye should be great for the Blades. Far more to him than the lazy Brexit ball comments. Honest, hard-working and effective. Up the Clarets, up the Ramble. Yeah, I agree, mate. I think it would. Now, here's a shout. Danny Roll or John Eustace. John Eustace might be a decent shout as well. He has done well wherever he's gone. Wherever he's gone. Did really well with Birmingham, then did well with Blackburn. Now doing well with Derby, who I expect to be a lot better this season. I'm not against John Eustace. He's not a big name, but at Championship level, he's done very, very well. It could be that the owners are bracing for player sales. Hamer, Cooper, Souza, maybe Burrows with Wilder at the helm. He may not want those players to leave. A new coach wouldn't put up a fight. Oh, that is a terrible way of looking at it, Michael. But not out of the question. But wow. Andy says, call me crazy, but the timing of this and the sudden availability of Ange Postecoglou, stranger things. You're crazy. Listen, I would love Ange Postecoglou. I think he's box office. I think he's a Leeds United manager waiting to happen, to be honest, because no one likes him. He don't care. That sort of mentality. But I think that would fit with us as well at times. I think he would be a real leader for us, and he plays really attacking football, doesn't he? You know, it's not worked out. It's not worked out at Spurs. I know they won the first European trophy for ages, but you can see why he's been let go. But I still rate him as a very good manager. If Wilder's better signing free transfers, says Daz, maybe he's going to Hillsborough for the next 3 windows. Tom says he'd take Postecoglou. I think we're shooting too high, ladies and gents. I have to say that. Dino says it's not anywhere on social media. Well, I will either be very credible after this stream once it is announced, or I will be, Jimmy, you don't know what you're talking about. So we'll wait and see. Kaiser says, is it true? I certainly hope so now that I'm talking about it, and I don't hope so because I love the man. Best manager of my lifetime, says Andrew, would be a horrible decision. I see absolutely no reason for it. Alan says, not surprised. He makes some bad decisions in tactics, behaviour and signings, which have probably cost him his job. Skyblade says, love his commitment, but seems to have reached a ceiling as a good championship but bad Premier League manager. Would have given him this season personally, but understand new owners' thoughts. Bumpy ride ahead, I think. Absolutely right. Nice one, Lee, for jumping over to X and trying to push people over to YouTube. I appreciate that. We've got over 10,000 people here. 10,000 people watching live. Have that, Conor McGilligan. I'm joking. I'm joking. What about Michael Carrick? What about him, Fred? What about would he excite you as an appointment? He's just been sacked from it. Look, if it was 12 months ago when he was still seen as an up-and-coming coach and Borough pushing, I think the season where he had Cam Archer and Chuba Akpom and they looked really strong and they came and we drew 2-2 with them, I think. And I think then would have been a time to look at him. Wayne's saying, Hassan Hootel, where has he been? I don't know enough about where Ralph's been since he left Southampton. Southgate says, Danny, no. And again, he's going to a Premier League job, isn't he? If anywhere. Dino says, well, I'd have Danny Roll, no danger. Good football, modern tactics, and just look at how the pigs will take it. Michael says, Sean Dyche, perfect for the Blades. For the Blades. Okay, Dave the Nose, we're going to jump on with us, but he wants to save that. That's absolutely fine, pal. He's going to have a little contemplate, I think, for maybe a 3MB coming down the road. Hopefully, the 10,000 of you that are here will jump on for that as well. Was Hamza any good, says JB? Completely off subject. He was disappointing in centre midfield, I would say, if I'm being harsh. Or certainly didn't pull up any trees. When he moved to right back, he was very good. Or the best we had. Gaz says, sorry, just seen this at the airport. Has he gone? You'll have heard me break that down as well now, Gaz, I think, since you posted that comment. Brett says, a new manager doesn't always bring success. We don't want to be a club chopping and changing all the time because the usual result that's going down is going down the leagues. Rich G, Holly from Red Dwarf says, thanks, Chris, for everything. Once a blade, always a blade. Up the blades, up all the rambles. Well said, mate. Well said. Justin says, I'm not shocked. 92 points was impressive. Credit to him, but he was given what he wanted in Jan. And that's when it was tactically found out. The fines for fighting, etc., not good enough. Up the blades, up all the rambles. I'd push back on a little bit of that just because the signings in January, the Tom Cannon one, which is the standout one, wasn't directly him. He was offered Cannon by the club, which he accepted, obviously, which he would have done. It wasn't like he's gone to the board and said, I need 10 million quid to go and get this player, which I think is a common misconception that I had up until recently, where you absolutely bang on. And something that we haven't mentioned is the lack of discipline in the squad in terms of the fighting on the pitch and the fines that we've accrued, nearly £500,000 in fines. Now, I love a ruck on the pitch as much as the next man or woman. I think it sort of builds into the camaraderie, and I think it brings the team together, and it's a little bit like we're all fighting on the same side, as long as it don't go too far. Obviously, you don't want to see anything serious happen on the field, but that's when it's done few and far between. I get that it builds camaraderie in the squad and togetherness. And we had to do that quickly with our squad and piece something together, which again is something he hasn't been credited for. We had I think we're about 7 new starters throughout August. But anyway, Scotty doing us a solid. Get over to YouTube, guys. Go sub and like. Thank you, mate. Very much appreciated. We have had a fair few more subs join us. So thank you to those that do. We are pushing as much as we can to get to 10K. And to do that before kickoff would be incredible. At the minute, we've got 8,253. Now, if everybody watching this stream went over to YouTube, and if you enjoy the content, that has to be said, if you all went over to YouTube and subscribed, you would make me incredibly happy. Incredibly happy. Please do us a solid and go and subscribe on YouTube. You don't then have to watch on YouTube. You can go back to X if you really want to. But if you could go over to YouTube just to do me a solid and subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. Luco says, speaking of AI, I just asked ChatGPT who it thought would be the best replacement if I'd left and it said Ekinbottom. No. You got to get past Eki out, Sal, first, is all I'll say. Daishaw roll for me. The amount of roll shouts now that it's becoming a possibility, is a bit of an eye-opener for me. So I've got a call coming through that I can't take. I need to take, but I'm not going to take because I've got 10,000, nearly 11,000 people here. Unbelievable. If we get Gerrard, I won't be attending any games next season until he's inevitably sacked. Can't say that, Eldog. You can't say that. Can't not give him a chance. I'm not saying it will be Gerrard. I'm just throwing that name out there as a big name in the football world that will get eyes on us. It could be somebody like Thierry Henry, couldn't it? Do you know what I mean? This is how open it is now to names. And I might get clipped for saying that because I'm just shooting out random big names in football. But who'd have thought Wayne Rooney, one of the best players the Premier League's ever seen, would end up at Plymouth Argyle? And was shocking, by the way. So a big name means absolutely nothing. But do the powers that be see value in big names in terms of commercial success and pulling in players who may have watched Steven Gerrard play, or may be a Liverpool fan that grew up idolized, or their dad might have idolized Steven Gerrard because we're getting further and further away from his playing days. What else? Inky Squid says, morning all. Toffee here, who's just come across this. Apologies, I'm not too familiar with Sheffield United, but I've seen Dyche mentioned in a number of times. Truthfully, he'll sort out your defence, but not much else. To be honest, Inky, thank you for coming over, pal, first and foremost. If you want to subscribe and you're enjoying the content, that'd be great. That's the first thing we need to do. So I'm not saying it's the only thing we need to do, but predominantly at Sheffield United, if we can sort our back line out because of the situation we're in the summer, we will be golden. We will be absolutely fine. Going forward, we've got enough attacking talent. So, yes, Keen Jelly says, White's fan here, Jimmy, surprised at this. As has been said, Chris would have had you up any other season. A tad harsh if he's been seen as a failure. Still think you'll get up irrespective of who's in. Another thing I want to clarify here while we've got 11,200 people watching. Absolutely ridiculous numbers. It is not confirmed yet. Certainly, it's not confirmed yet at all. That's the first thing to note. But it's not been confirmed whether he has walked or he's been sacked. Now, I would be amazed if he's walked due to the contract he's on, the fact that he doesn't really see much wrong with the project. I strongly believe that this will be an owner's decision if it's been made. And I agree. I think it's very, very harsh. Gaz Dunn, the man in black, resident ref, says, needs to be someone that has top of the championship experience and especially promotion on their CV. Oh, you going for then, Gaz? Give us a name, pal. Is this just hearsay or has someone credible backed it up? I won't take offense to that comment. It is two people very credible have backed it up to me personally and given me the green light to, as long as you don't say where it's come from, then yes, you can go ahead and stream about it. Dyche has a tendency to stick to his favourites. Well, that's not what we need. That is not what we need because we've seen that before. Makes no subs, rigid and predictable tactics, and a lone striker who depends on a 10 with defensive qualities, which is why Decore thrived. Okay, Interesting. Thank you, Inky Squid. That's a good insight for us. Rust of Duty says 70,000 loyalty points. If Wilder has gone, my season ticket will be going back. Interesting. Interesting. This is the view from the mountain. Discipline down at Plymouth. Was the dressing room completely behind him? New owners, we know, have ambitions to commercialise the club. His previous behaviour towards chairman. Failure to get promoted. I don't know if you've added to that, pal. But these are your reasonings that the decision could have been made. Inky Squid finishes it off by saying, must say I'm thankful for what Dyche did for us, especially with the 10 points, but it was hurting more than helping us. Okay. Big T says, on the plus side, Robinson might not be in the team next season. Big T, one of our Platinum Ramblers, top man. Steve says, it won't be him, but I'd go for Luke Williams. Fantastic style of playing. Would be great to see him do it with quality players, a quality squad of players. Didn't he get sacked from Swansea, though? I know he did really well with Notts County. I'm pretty sure he got sacked from Swansea, and they're now picking up under Alan Sheehan. You're right, Steve. Whether you rate him or not, it won't be Luke Williams, I don't think. Alan says, think the substitutions throughout the season, very questionable. Good luck for the season. Great show, Jimmy, from a diehard Leeds fan. Thank you, Al. Appreciate that, mate. Matt says, trying to be pragmatic, we had a strong season, but apart from the Coventry game, struggling to think of another game, we dominated from start to finish. Maybe time for a change. This has been a criticism of United, Matt, throughout the season. We've got the job done in the vast majority of games, haven't we? But for some people, it wasn't convincing enough. And I understand the argument. I also understand the argument of ultimately we got the job done, which is what I try and focus on, because it's the positive spin and it's pro Wilder. But he's found a way to win. But you're right, there's been concerns throughout the season that it's not been convincing. So maybe that plays a part too. If we don't have a passionate Blade leading the charge, we lose connection with the fans. And then the team, says Bladesman from the lane, Slav, Robson, Clough didn't work. We have never been more connected. I agree with this, but that you are hugely limiting yourselves as a club if you only focus on people who have got a connection to the club. Who are we going to appoint? Nick Montgomery, Billy Sharp. It's one of those questions into that. And I know I'm going to the extreme of what you're saying, pal, but how far do you go here? How far do you go? If, and it's a huge if, and it's not going to happen. So I don't mean to sort of set expectations too high, but if Ange Postecoglou came in tomorrow, we'd all be pretty happy with it, I think. We'd all be pretty excited. Like we were excited when Slav came in. But you're right, we've never been more connected. Chris says, not good for you guys. Surely just needed a few additions now to complete the rebuild. Get sausage roll, Danny, says Woody. It'd be interesting if they were, if they ended up chanting that to us, wouldn't it? After the history. Beware, Big Sam will have his suit ready, says Cole. Don't say that, pal. I nearly read that as no bra master, noob master. Love your work, Jimmy. Thank you, pal. And thank you for the super chat. It's very much appreciated. Chris says, if we wait until October, Farker could be available. Yes, he could. I'm not a massive Farker fan. I wasn't a Scott Parker fan, but you cannot turn your nose at what they've done this season. So, are you sure, Jimmy? It's not good news for sure, but I'm hearing it's not decided up all the rambles. I hope it's not decided. And there's a big part of me that hopes I'm wrong. Obviously, I will look foolish. There's 12,000 people here. But I can only come on in good faith and tell you that this is what I'm hearing. And if it is the case, which it looks very likely that it is, then it gives us a chance to sort of get our heads around it a little bit, doesn't it? And start to look forward. I hope it's not the case. I hope it is not, because I think Sean. I think Sean. That's because Sean's just posted a message in Platinum group. But I think Wilder is the man to lead us forward personally. But there you go. To be honest, might not be the worst, says Tim. Not sure Wilder is Prem manager now. So if we can get a Prem level manager, we might go up with someone more equipped. Would have been fine with Wilder this season, though. That's a similar argument, Tim, isn't it, to signing Premier League players, because that's the optimum, isn't it? And if we got a Prem, say Angie's a Prem level manager, Sean Dyche you might consider a Prem level manager. That doesn't guarantee A, you're going to get them because you're targeting them, but B, that they're going to actually do the job and get you there. I would have considered Rob Holding a Premier League level defender. This guy, shout out to you. Apologies, I can't read your name. Absolutely gutted. Only positive I see is a change of tactics and potential. Find what works for us. Eustace has made the bold move to Derby. He won't want that move again so soon, surely. We can't take a promising champ manager, says Tim. We need to act like champions in waiting and aim higher than that. Wow. Marty Cifuentes was a name mentioned a few weeks ago after the playoff defeat. I spoke to my mountain about this. I don't know whether it were on stream or privately, but wouldn't excite me. Postecoglou would be great. A fellow Greek as a blade. I just dream. We don't need Danny Roll. He would take us down, says AMG Personal Training. Just subscribed. Thank you, pal. Very much appreciated. What are we on now? Oh, yeah, we're growing. 32 away from 8-3. Thank you, everybody. If you're one of the 12,500 that's watching us right now and you're not subscribed, please go over and subscribe. It would very much be appreciated. To get to 10K really would put us into another level if you could help us out. John says, Chris Wilder did a good job last season, but his position became untenable. At the moment he put those clothes on to lead his team out at Wembley, Blades owners left with no option, really. It had to go. Put those clothes on to lead his team out at Wembley? What, as in, like, the way he was dressed at Wembley? I may be misreading that, pal. Morning, Jimmy. Don't know how I feel. All eyes on the owners now to see who they want. Big Ange for me. Big Ange. There's a load of Big Ange shouts. It's just, I don't want to sort of set unrealistic expectations. I don't want to rule it out either because you don't know how ambitious these owners are going to be, but you'd expect he's on a wedge. What about Big Ange, says Brad. Was wary when Chris came back after the way he left last time, says Johnny the Clown, but won me over, so slightly surprised with the news. Could it be wanting McDonkey to come back as the last straw? Oh, mate. Big Ange will end up with Angela Rippon. Excited for a new era, says Wilder's #1 hater. As purely a manager, Roll wouldn't be a bad appointment, says Joe the Puncher, who is punching above, as you can all see by his profile picture there. Ralph Hassenhutel, thank you, Nick, the Forest fan, not seen you for a while, pal, was at VFL Wolfsburg till he was sacked on the 4th of May. May the 4th, is that Star Wars Day? No room for sentiment in football. Roll would be a worthy shout, says Keen Jelly. Be a controversial one, though, wouldn't it? Very controversial. Might pinch Lampard, says Zach. I'd be okay with Lampard, says Chris. Go for sausage roll, says Ollie. Think he'd see it as a middle. As a middle. If we got Gerrard, Lampard versus Gerrard next season would be class. Oh, can you imagine Sky? Coventry versus Sheffield United. They would be all over it. Oh, do you know what I don't want to be? Steven Gerrard, Sheffield United. So that rules him out straight away for me. No, thank you. Please tell me he's not going. Ridiculous if he is. It's 95%. I'm 95% sure it's happening, Jonathan, I have to say. I cannot confirm 100% because the club haven't announced it, and that will be the ultimate time when it happens. Unless there is a huge last-minute U-turn, then it is definitely on the cards. There would have to be a huge U-turn now because it is already being talked about. That is what I know for sure. Maybe this is what Gary Sinclair meant when he said surprising departures. Maybe, Bran. Maybe. Big friend of the channel now is Gaz. He's welcome back anytime. I think we're hoping to do a little bit more work with him very soon. Might be sooner than we thought, might it? Johnny says, regardless of who's in charge, we'll all still be there for the first game of the season to support our team. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. We've already had someone say, I won't be there if he's been sacked. But once the dust, that's an emotional reaction, and that's understandable. Once the dust settles, of course, that person will be back. Apologies, I can't remember who it was that said it now. But just a thought, could it be the owners want to sell a few players and Wilder has said no? Yeah, Dave, somebody mentioned that earlier. in terms of it might be a case of we've had offers on the table for Gus, Cooper, Burrows. This is worst case. I think it was Michael that said it. This is worst case scenario, really. And Wilder said, "You're not selling them. You're not selling them. Because if you do, I'm off." That might be the situation. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that. But you can't rule it out. Mowbray could be an option. Didn't pull up any trees at West Brom, did he? I don't know whether his time at the top end of the Championship is done. He's had some health issues as well. Obviously, we wish him really well. But of the 13,000 people, you know what you need to do now? You need to go over to YouTube. You need to subscribe to the Blades Ramble if you're enjoying the content. Thank you for your support. Has he gone or what? Or are you just stirring the pot to get a few views? Nice, Rich. Nice. I wouldn't. I think clickbait is something, if you've not been part of the channel for a long time, clickbait is something we always avoid at the absolute most, every occasion. We don't want to be clickbait. I would not risk the long-term reputation of the channel on a video like this if I wasn't 95% sure. So to stir the pot with something like this, that you are essentially clickbaiting people into if you don't believe it, then it ruins your reputation long term. So I'm still taking a risk here that it might not happen and people might think, oh, well, Jimmy's lost a bit of credibility there. I clearly hope that doesn't happen, but I wouldn't be putting this video out if I didn't believe the people that have told me. Because it's all right. I must have had 10 or 15 people message me yesterday during the day saying, Jimmy, this is rolling now. This is happening. I didn't believe it until I had it confirmed this morning by 2 really close people to me, to the club and with their own contacts. And I've had a third that would definitely know, who said, we'll talk later, mate. That's the honest truth on where it is. I'm clearly not going to be revealing who those people are, but that is the genuine situation. I reckon you lot should go for Dyche. Would be quality, as Championship promotion experience and the ability to keep teams in the Premier League. I agree. I agree with that. Toddy says, can't just be connected to the club because the manager is a blade. We should all be connected and back whoever's in the dugout, in my opinion. Toddy, one of our Platinum Ramblers, thank you for your support, pal. I agree with this comment. Also, I've got your message. I'm leaving it unread so I don't forget, because I'm going to send you your Rambler badge out. So thank you for that. Yes, you get a badge, a gold pin badge for signing up to be a Platinum Rambler, if anybody's interested. Amy's been on X and reposted the stream. Thank you, Amy, with a wonderful profile picture there of the Starman. I thank Chris for everything he's done, but I think his substitutions were awful at times. He could be bloody stubborn, says Craig. He certainly is a stubborn character. What I hear on Monday at training ground is that Wilder told he has asked to let 4 of his top 6 players go. He can keep 2. If not, he can go before the end of the month, says Dino. Right, okay. Ross says, for me, Wilder isn't a good enough manager for the Prem, but he's certainly a good enough manager to get us promoted back to the Prem. Okay, interesting point. Mim says, I feel Wilder has a formula to win 95% of the games. When the tough ones come around, we never do well. Tactically, not very reactive to the game at hand. That's really astute, to be fair. I think that's been a common criticism. I'd like the owners to be ruthless with PP. I might be missing something there. Big Angie's available. Too good for the blunts, though, says CB. Never misses an opportunity, do you, pal? Tom says, loving your work, Jimmy. Gutted to lose Wilder, can't lie. Dyche, obviously favourites, but Nick Montgomery 20-1, apparently. Okay. John Cobb says, hello, Jimmy. Hello, John Cobb. How are you, pal? Rich says, imagine sacking our most successful manager of all time and replacing him with Montgomery. Only at Sheffield United. That won't happen, I don't think. Absolute joke. If I'd not already renewed for next season, I wouldn't be renewing now. Really strong, Rich. Really strong, that, pal. And that's how some people will feel. I don't think... It'll be interesting to see how the owners react to the inevitable reaction from some really strong Wilder backers. It's probably just going to be water off a duck's back to him. I understand that. But it's still... It will hit some people hard, this. And it's taken me a little bit of time to get me around it as well. Josh says, what about Nick Montgomery? Just directly after Richard's comment, backroom staff of Ange as well. I think Nick Montgomery could come in and complement the management team. I wouldn't want him as the number one, in all honesty. His last managerial job, he got sacked at Hibs. So I don't think he will be in the mix. Sausage Roll has a 5 million release clause in his contract, does he not? He does at the minute. In 2 weeks' time, he might have left of his own accord with no ties because he's not getting paid, which is absolutely ludicrous. Not that I want to pay a release clause for him, but pay your staff, you absolute muppet. The owners must have had a yes from someone. They won't let Chris go without a replacement in mind. Possibly. That's usually the way these days, isn't it? That's how Chris came in. Let's be right, isn't it? They must have had a yes from Wilder because he came straight in after Eki went. So Matt says, won't be sure about Danny Rowe. Would probably do well, but would expect him to ditch us at the first chance to get a Bundesliga like he has with them lot. That's true. Scott says, hey, I'll choose our next manager. Welcome to Toshikai Lamai from the Mongolian Premier League. Don't. David Webster, loving the fact that he can jump on this. Now people seriously suggesting Montgomery incapable of looking beyond the end of Shoreham Street. Yeah, David Webster always has been a non-believer in sentiment. And I don't mean to speak for you, David. But I agree that sentiment shouldn't come into it. I love the fact that Wilder is part of the furniture at Sheffield United and will always be. And I think that levels him up, like I've spoken about at the beginning of the stream. But it's not the be-all, end-all. If a much stronger name comes in, then you go with the stronger name than a Nick Montgomery or even a Billy Sharp, who I think may be our manager one day. But he's still playing for a start. Gutted, new owners are clowns who don't get it, says Sam. Really strong. Just another soulless club now who will have a new head coach every year, 15 minutes away from a glorious season, and they do this. Pathetic. This is possibly as well, when you say head coach, it sort of triggers something in my mind that it could be a whole new management infrastructure, couldn't it? It could be a sporting director that comes in now. It could be, a huge overhaul of how we know it. We don't know which way we're going to go. Jay disagrees with them being clowns. We don't know how it's going to go, do we? We don't know how it's going to go. It could be a clever move. If Roll is true and we pay them 5 million release fee, at least it means Chansiri can stay on a bit longer. Please not Sausage Roll. I fear for the future, says Michael. Alessandro says, Big Ange might thrive in the Championship, but let's not forget he was stubborn, one-dimensional, and his side lost 22 league games. Wilder was the right guy. 92 points, 9 times from 10 gets you up. Absolutely right. And just to show you, not only what a guy is, but how generous he is, Mr. Vancouver with $100 super chat to the Blades Ramble. 14,000 people in here. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you all get to see what a guy this man is. And it's not just because of his generosity, it's because of his loyalty and his friendship that he shows me. Hi, Jimmy. I'm really disappointed, but I will always follow my club, regardless of the manager or owner. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles, like and subscribe. Thank you, Mr. Vancouver. What a man. What a man. Really appreciate that. I'm not going to get caught by some of the clickbait from the Leeds boys. Can I have 100? Says Chris. It all goes into the channel, pal. It's not going in my back pocket. Mr. V funding the revolution. That's the Mr. Mountain. Mr. V, an absolute legend in more ways than one. We know that, don't we, Davey boy? Dave the knows. He really knows. What a man. Burnley fan here says, Dale, not seen any news and just opened up YouTube for some background music to work and saw this. What? Thought Wilder was definitely going to stay, especially after seeing your pre-season fixtures. Yes, they are Wilder pre-season fixtures, aren't they? They are 100% Wilder. But where do you stop? If you know you're not going to be there, where do you stop in the preparation? You'd let him carry on prepping, wouldn't you? It's just a surprise to me that if it's going to happen, which again, it's not 100% confirmed this. It is 95% confirmed. It is being negotiated now, from what I understand. That is something I am pretty sure on. It would take a huge U-turn and crunch talks to change things now. So I'm confident that we're not spreading any false information, because I wouldn't be on if that was the case. But yeah, absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous to think that this is all happening now, and I still haven't got my head around it. Still have not got my head around it. I've heard Chris won't let the board pick all the signings, which has been a little. Sorry, I don't think you finished your comment there, James. Mike says feels like he deserves another crack at it, but I see where we are in 4 or 5 months. Subscribe, by the way. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that, pal. I was massively Wilder in, but he's definitely, but he is different this time. He's morphing into Gary Megson, awful playing style, mismanagement of signings. See, that's interesting because a lot of people have said they've appreciated the changes he's made this time in terms of his demeanour, but I think his tactics have come under more question this time round, which, you know, and another thing on that, the point I was originally going to make before I got distracted by the next comment was people were originally against him coming in, and because of the way he's conducted himself, other than a couple of rucks like we've already mentioned, that's turned their opinion, and he sort of appeals to them more now. Like and subscribe to the Blades Ramble, says Matthew. Thank you, mate. Ab says he's got excuses all the time, blaming everyone. Becomes draining after a while. Yes, we got 90 points, but we're never a 90-point team. Take Hamer out of the out, and we will be playoff chasing. Interesting. Ross says hopefully we don't get Gerrard in. Yeah, hopefully we don't. Jim Bob's a Wilder fanboy. No chance he would use this as clickbait. Yeah, correct, mate. That's very true. Very true. If I could, if it was the other way around and it was a Wilder stays, I would be more than happy to be coming on and telling you that as well. So Dino says, for Christ's sake, we don't need Gerrard. And again, I just threw that out there as a name. Don't. He's not been linked at all, but we don't know the type of manager that these owners will want to go for. And it's football. It happens. Get on with it. I'll be there next season no matter what. Me too, Dino. I will see you there, pal. But they need to get this right now. Dave the Nose, he really knows, says, let the dust settle on the decision. I can make a very strong arguments for Wilder in and out. More than one reason for this happening, and as much about ability to go again, and as much about the ability to go again as the end of the season. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, so I'm really interested to hear Dave and the Man Mountain elaborate. We will be talking about this, no doubt, on the next 3 Mardy Blades. Which is now a regular on the Blades Ramble. It'll be weekly from July, which I'm really looking forward to. Dave says, Dave Bassett, great. How about his brother Mike? Okay, I'll close the door behind me. Morrissey says, what have I woke up to? Please say this ain't for real. Again, since you've commented, you'll have heard that it's not absolutely nailed on. But I would not put it out there if I didn't believe it to be true. Wow. Oh, Man Mountain, you've been done there, mate. He just sent me a message showing confirmation, but it's from a club statement on 13th of March 21. Hi, Jim, big Leeds fan. If I were a Blade, I would be gutted if Wilder went. This could derail your season. It won't derail the season, Howard, I don't think, because it's Howard and Eve. It's not started yet, has it? And I'd like us to have done it a little bit earlier if we were going to do it at all. I wouldn't have done it at all, if I'm honest, but make the decision sooner. Cooler King says, morning, Jim. Big news. I'm shocked but not surprised. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for your club, but it all depends on who comes in. Take it from me, you absolutely do not want Gerrard. That's from Cooler King, a big supporter of the channel, but a Villa fan who is speaking from experience. Yes, I absolutely, mate. I don't personally. So, yeah, I'm with you there. Sellers has agreed terms, apparently. So it's already started, isn't it? I have heard the Ruben Sellers rumour doing the rounds. Don't know how I feel about that. Bringing Rolling will be reminiscent of when Curran came to us from the Pigs. No thanks. Or would it be Danny Wilson? I know it wasn't a direct switch, but Danny Wilson did all right for us. Ginger Ali, that's completely inappropriate. Spot on, Jimmy. Top man, keep up the work. Thank you, mate. Thank you, pal. Appreciate it. Not a Wilder fan, says Uruguay White, but he's probably the best option to get you out of this league. Maybe corporate. Hang on. Maybe corporate owners don't like his fan emotion that he shows. Possibly. Alessandro says, if we want to do something unique, a statement from the board to go foreign. De Rossi is free, and his Roma were fantastic, bleeding youth in and getting to the semi-final of Europa. De Rossi, that's a huge name, a huge name. Gary says, as a neutral, Jimmy, how about a complete curveball and bringing in a foreign coach who would change tactics and personnel from game to game to counteract the opposition? Possibly, mate. Yeah, it's in line with what Alessandro's just suggested there, isn't it? Rich says, if I'd not already renewed my season ticket, I'd be giving it up. Pathetic decision. 92 points and don't give a manager any say in future transfers. Ridiculous. I don't think it's giving him any choice in not giving him any future choice in future transfers. I don't know. I don't honestly know the reasoning behind it, Rich. But again, this is the emotion that it brings out in some fans. I think Rich will be all right once it calms down. I don't mean to speak for you, pal. I don't speak to you regularly. It's the first time I've seen you commenting, but I think once it calms down, we'll all be back at the lane, won't we? But it will affect people differently, this. Football was dreadful, bar a few games. Fitness of key players was worse, and his getting worse, and his antics would be seen as damaging to the brand by the owners, says Barking Ben. Is it true owners met with Roll in London? Don't know. Don't know if they've met with Roll in London. Steve Cooper for me all day. Wilder suggested him when he left the lane the first time. Please not Dyche, please no, says Ab. Scott says, morning, Jimmy. Hope you're okay. I'm good, pal. Hope you are too. One of our Platinum Ramblers. Guess this was on the cards, but does it feel a bit later? If true, who do you want, Jim? Please not Monty. That would be awful. If gone, it has to be a bigger name. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. I've already said, and I don't want to keep going over the same thing, Scott. I appreciate you've just joined, pal, but I've gone with Sean Dyche as a safe pair of hands. I think he would get us out of the division, and he's a strong shout to keep us in the division above. And that, as a club, is the best we can possibly hope for over the next 3-4 years. So we'll see. We'll see whether that happens or not. But there's other shouts for Danny Roll. We've had a couple of Ange Postecoglou shouts. We've had some Monty shouts. We've had a John Eustace shout, which I don't mind at all either. I said when TC left for Leeds, I'm done. We're a joke club now. Saturday at 2 p.m. I'm in the Cricketers on Cop at 2:50. Exactly right. Exactly, Tim. Zidane's still not in work. How big do we go? How big do we go? 15,000 people watching the Blades Ramble live. This is ridiculous. If you're not already, which I know nearly half of you aren't, please come over and subscribe. Help us out. Help us grow as a channel. If you're enjoying the content, or if you're going to you can end up laughing me at a later date if this doesn't turn out to be true. You can come back and laugh at me if you subscribe, can't you? Need a more professional manager. He's Mardy, says Matt, and brings the club a bad name with his outbursts. See, he is a divisive figure, isn't he? Jurgen Klopp for the Blades, says Mark. Is he big enough? Is he a big enough name? That's what I want to know. Katie says, I'm quite acquiesced by the news, if I'm honest. Would look forward to a new chapter, but equally will be happy to see him stay. We'll be there in August regardless. Well said, Katie. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Joe says people were hinting at Roll speaking to the United board. Okay. Roll apparently has a £2.5 million release clause to Championship clubs. Yes, it's less to Championship clubs, isn't it? Because that's why Southampton was supposedly waiting till they dropped rather than appointing him in the Prem when it were going to be 5 mil. I think it might be player power. I'll stay if CW goes. No. I think the players are on side, from what I understand. Okay. Just reading what's. Yes, Dave and Man Mountain asking me that question. Yes, that's right. Also, Jimmy, do you know anything about Ukaki? Is he a good signing? I've heard. I know nothing of him. Never seen him kick a ball. Not even watched the highlights yet. But again, just from a couple of people, and again, these are just people that I know rather than in the know. The best of the three so far, which is a very low bar, but a name like Ukaki, you've got to be good, haven't you? Arise, Sir Gareth Southgate, and get this club back to the Premier League. Mike, give your head a wobble, pal. Surely not. Surely not. Oh, Gaza. I don't think he'll drop. I don't think he'll drop to the champ personally. Joe says, if you took long term, all the best clubs have a good tactical manager. I mean, if you look long term, all the best clubs have been good tactical manager that very rarely are linked with the club prior. At some point, we'd have to move on. Maybe they just want to push that button earlier. Possibly. Cooler King says, I imagine that somewhere David Webster has just disappeared in a puff of smoke. No, he's here. He's here in the chat, pal, and he is giving his opinion. He's a very happy man this morning. Cue the mass exodus of players and back to playing Crawley away in 3 to 4 years, says Rich. Rich, really not happy with this decision. Won't be alone in that this morning. Dublin Blade says, doesn't matter who the club get in. Some fans say he's not good enough. I follow Sheffield United, not the manager. So while disappointing, come the start of the season, I'll be cheering on Den Blades, as will Chris Wilder. It has to be said. as will Chris Wilder. My opinion, we didn't get promoted this season because Wilder's tactics didn't allow us to score and win by 3+ goals like Burnley and Leeds all season long. Would still like to give him more time. Did I hear Montgomery mentioned, says Kaz? Ian Rolf, not Roll, says, last season many Leeds fans were worried about Sheffield United because Wilder was the manager. Surely deserved another season. If owners are looking for a big name, how about Rooney? How about no? I'm here, says David Webster, and absolutely delighted for my club. I support United, not clueless Chris. Is it weird, the timing of the sacking, especially with the friendlies announced this week to local teams? Yeah, it is weird. It is weird. This is why I've had lingering doubts about whether it's right or not. It were only this morning and late last night and this morning. It's one of them. It's one of them. Again, the part of me hopes it's not true, but I trust the sources that are putting it out there. Morning, Jimmy. Just subscribed. As a Leeds fan, if this is true about Wilder, then it's a madness. But he's now ruthless. Good luck this season. Thank you, pal, and thank you for the sub. If the new owners want to change, better now than 10 weeks into the season. Better 2 weeks ago, though. Surely, if they knew they were going to do it. Ruben Sellers has been linked. I got told yesterday, says Kev. Yep. Just been confirmed on the official site. Is left by mutual consent. It hasn't. It hasn't. I think you've been done by the same message that Man Mountain got done by. Farker got 90 points, kept his job, wins the title. I think it's a mistake. There must have been a fallout at the top. Must be selling Cooper, says King. Ezra Blade says, I worry about how many of the players feel about this. Yeah, me too. That is a concern for me, to be honest. Your Bournemouth and Forest examples give me hope. Me too. We've got to look for the things where we can have hope in these situations. It obviously goes wrong for other clubs as well. Doesn't always work. But I like to look at the positives and what could happen. Can't believe people are on about boycotting if Wilder's gone. Take a walk up Penistone Road, then you'd rip your ticket up. You'd never know what the owners have planned. Stay positive. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. My concern is we're now needing to start again. If the last 2 seasons in the champ has proven, you need to hit the ground running. Dyche, Cooper, or someone of a similar ilk. We're coming to the end of the comments. Oh, we're still 10 minutes behind, actually. Means naff all, but he's on my mate's flight from East Midlands to Faroe. Just about to land. Bedus. Maybe you can ask him then. I'd have been fuming if Farker got sacked after the playoff loss. That's without a history at the club. Like Wilder's had at Chef. Mental. So again, just a reminder, because we've now nearly 16,000 people here watching. This is not confirmation, 100% confirmation. This is heavy, heavy rumours that Chris Wilder has gone or he's about to go. And it's from people that have not been wrong in the past. Not only one person that's never been wrong, 2 people. And a third person that's not committed either. Certainly not said, no, it's not true. 2 people have said yes. 1 person has said, we'll talk later. So I am confident enough to come on here and say that I think there is a very, very strong possibility that Chris Wilder is leaving Sheffield United. So that is as much as, that's why it's a Chris Wilder gone ? Rather than a Chris Wilder gone ! Certainly not confirmation, just as close to confirmation as I can give you at the moment. So that is where we are. John says, I think this is not good. I believe another season where Wilder would have taken us up. It's going to be very interesting why this has happened. Jimmy, as a Leeds fan, it's all just a bit of banter. I've subscribed, and as always, leave you a like. Thank you, pal. Appreciate it. Paul Rose of Wellstone Landscapes. Absolutely going to come and do a bit of Behind the Ramble filming as we redo my landscape, my back garden, which absolutely needs it. Thank you for your support, pal, as a sponsor as well. I'm a Wilder fan, but I also have a few concerns over his managing style this season. Just gone. I won't really have an opinion on it until all happens and see who we bring in to replace him. Yeah, me too, pal. Richie Wellens, he's worked miracles at Leyton Orient. That's not a bad shout. Won't be a popular one widely, I don't think. But if you look closely at the records, how he's done, been a very good manager. Jack Grove says the $500,000 fines might have upset shareholders. Yeah, completely agree. That may have had a bearing on it. I'd love Ange or Farioli, but it's so unrealistic, says Harvey. Yeah. All the Leeds fans saying Wayne Rooney, you can get away with yourselves. Would you take Michael Carrick? I wouldn't be. No, I don't think I would. He's not an upgrade on Chris Wilder currently. Obviously, he's got a longer future than Chris Wilder. Chris Wilder's proven so much more than Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick, a great footballer, yet to prove himself in management, I would probably say. We need to appoint quickly. We can't have sustained uncertainty with this crop of players. I agree, and I think it's coming to crunch time. I agree with the earlier comments, though, that if it is in the process of being worked out, which is what I'm strongly led to believe, and it would need a sharp U-turn now to change that, then they have to have somebody else lined up. That's every chance Arblaster will follow now as his future father-in-law has gone, says Dino. Peter Boz at PSV Eindhoven would be really good, but hard to get. You've nailed it, Fraser. Is at PSV. PSV, Sheffield United, with no ties to the club. Beardman says, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I prefer Wilder to stay, but we at least have to trust the new owners. Only if till they mess up. I hope they don't mess up, though. Yes, me too, pal. The board can't be happy with all the fines last season. Agree. Footy Social Club, joining you very shortly. Love the show, mate. Wilder being sacked for me is about the club looking longer term. Great manager at this level, but not in the Premier League. Liam Rosenior springs to mind. Don't tease me with Liam Rosenior. Don't. Thank you for the comment, mate. I really appreciate it. But I would love Liam Rosenior. He would be above Sean Dyche. Obviously, Liam Rosenior would be absolutely top of my list. He's with Strasbourg in League One, and I think his next destination is the Premier League. I think he's slightly out of reach for us now, but it depends on the project that's being sold to him, doesn't it? So if there's anybody that we can push the boat out for, Liam Rosenior is the one, in my opinion. I've been thinking this for ages. Wilder usually starts off with signings ASAP and no one has signed, says Max. We usually sign someone middle of June with Wilder in charge, so this makes sense. It makes me think he's gone. James says apparently Chris won't let the owners pick the team or make the signings. Look at yesterday's signing. I'm strongly informed. Again, it feels a little bit weird saying this all the time, but to sort of counteract, that is no issue with the AI strategy at all. It's not affecting his first team budget. It's not affecting the first team expectations, James. I don't know where you've heard that from, but I'm confident in what I've been told in regards to that. I know we've looked in a good position at the time while they signed a new deal, but surely the board can't have that. I've had that much of a change of heart about him and go on to get rid after being 15 minutes from the Prem. It appears so. Would you have Graham Potter? Is it West Ham, pal? Is it West Ham? Yes, I would. I'm not sure Graham Potter would want to come to Sheffield United at this stage, but he'd have to be sacked by West Ham and to even be in the mix, wouldn't he? No matter what happens, Jimmy, I'm sure we'll all wish Chris the best, and thanks for everything. We'll still be here next season as always. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. Shocking decision to sack him, says John, over in Oz. Hope you're well, pal. Andy Mack says, if it's true, it's madness. He overperformed last year with that squad turnover. I agree. Can't see you getting up next season now. I think that's very premature. I mean, I hate to say it, says DT. I did see Chris a few days ago and he looked proper peeved. It means nothing, and I hope it isn't true, to be honest. Currently in Centre Parks watching your stream. I enjoy, mate. Dave the Nose, I believe, is in Centre Parks as well. So, I wonder if you could look together around the fire watching the Ramble. That'd be lovely. Liam says, I think his interview after the final will have tipped the owners, saying he's not spoken to the players 90 minutes after the game. I would love Rosenior. I think it would be, but I think it would be Sellers or Dyche. I'm not reading any comments from X other than this one because I want to support my pals over at Argyle Life. But I'm requesting everybody comes over to YouTube to comment so you can subscribe and support us that way. We're 6 away from 8,300. They're saying, please go and get Danny Roll. That would be both hilarious and an incredible get. Absolutely right. Completely agree. It would be hilarious. Nathan Yates is laughing at the Dyche shouts. I've got a feeling owners would want a big-ish name. Yeah, that's a bit of a fear, though, isn't it, Toddy? Because is it biggish in terms of management, which is great, or is it biggish in terms of player and unproven in management? Yeah. Independent reporting, Wilder is going. It's starting. It's starting. Will be a proper Blades thing to sack a manager after 92 points. Joke, says Cal. Maybe it was Christmas. Wilder himself was made Christmas wider. I think that's a bit of a typo there, Steve. Christmas wider. It's not one I've seen before. Maybe it was Chris Wilder himself who was made this. Maybe so. Maybe so, Steve. We don't know whether it's a resignation or a sacking. I would lean towards sacking because he was very excited about continuing this rebuild. But we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Rich says we can't afford to be taking a gamble. We need a safe pair of hands. Steve Cooper or Sean Dyche now for me. I'm absolutely gutted, though. I'm fully Wilder in. Fair, mate. Fair. Mogga says huge gamble replacing him if we went up. Understand. But Wilder will almost guarantee we go all the way, whereas Sellers' role could be sacked by Christmas. Very true. Not Gerard, please, says Mark. Too many slip-ups. It's not there. Only 310 likes and 820 watching on YouTube. Never mind 820 watching on YouTube. Get yourselves over to YouTube. You 15,500 that are watching. I've got nearly 16,500 now watching this stream. And 15.5 are on X. Chief reporter for The Independent reporting about Wilder that he could walk due to recruiting. That is not the reason. That is not the reason. Is he negotiating a release, Jimmy? Possibly. Possibly. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Sacking Chris Wilder now will be the worst decision in our history, says Adam. Strong. Now I've got my head around this a bit. It feels like a falling out with the timing of it. Yeah, possibly. We don't like to speculate about stuff like that, but you can't rule it out, can you? It's a real possibility. By the sounds of it, the board would have kept him, but it's the same issue. Wilder won't adopt and work with a new club. Work with the club, i.e. a director of football. He wants to control everything, and that's not how it works. Morning, Jim, says Mark. Must admit, not a Wilder fan. Ecky's style of football was better. CW's team selection and tactics were baffling, not to mention his loans and signings. Here we go. Ab says Chris Wilder could be set to leave Sheffield United following discussions about recruitment. Do you know what? I am gutted about the reality of what's happening. But there is a huge part of me, and I'm just being honest, I am always honest with you on the Ramble, and I always will be. There's a huge part of me that is relieved that this may justify our stream, because this was a huge risk coming on, and trusting my sources is never a problem, because the people I speak to, and it's not a huge array of people, I'm not trying to be big time, it's people I really trust that are close to the club, because I'm not big time at all. And it fully justifies what trust I have in them and trust they have in me, that I checked it with them that they were okay for me to go live as well. Certainly if I didn't reveal them. But it further sort of strengthens that relationship and lets me know that we've got a real solid foundation on this channel for news and for updates and things like that. And I'm more relieved that the news is now seeping out from elsewhere, and we have ultimately been the first to break it, which is incredible, and it's huge for the channel. Stripping all that away from a personal point of view, I'm very sad that Chris Wilder is going to be leaving the football club, if indeed this is what happens. Again, it's 95%. I'm 95% certain it happens. I think he adds another level to what other managers can. But that doesn't mean there's not better tactical managers out there. It doesn't mean there's not more astute recruiters out there, because there will be. And Chris Wilder would be the first to say that. I can only talk to you about how I feel when he's in charge of my football club, and that adds to my enjoyment of being a Blade. So, Christmas wider is the best typo ever. Yes, it was. It was a huge favourite of mine. I cannot deny. I may title the next video Christmas wider, but it may not go down well if he sees it. Get Ralph Hasenhüttl in for me, says Brandon. He's just been sacked from Wolfsburg, somebody was saying earlier in the comments. So we'd have to go back and have a look at his track record there. But I thought he did a good job at Southampton. He would be a credible name to put in the mix. It wouldn't necessarily be my first choice, but a credible name. Didn't Wilder control January transfers? How did that go? I would argue, Ab, that we crawled to January with the lack of resources we had or lack of bodies that we had. And although individually they might not have worked out, every one of them, I think the strength that they added to the squad overall, you look at our bench pre-January and post-January, and it's night and day. So as much as you might point to them individually and say, Brereton Diaz didn't live up to expectations, or Alfie Gilchrist, or Harry Clark, or whatever it might be, Tom Cannon is the obvious one, they made us stronger overall as a squad, and we were able to go again then. The last game we had before January, I think, was we lost 3-0 to Hull at home because we were absolutely out on our feet and needed reinforcements, because we can't forget how big a rebuild this was. Predictive text, sorry, Jim. Don't be sorry, pal. Don't be sorry. It's a highlight of the stream. I mentioned Leroy Rossini on your last watch along. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You wanted his father, Leroy Rossini, in. It wasn't a typo. It was... no, I'm only kidding. You did, mate. You did. Liam Rossini would be my number one choice if he's attainable. And I think that is... It's more attainable than Ange, but I still think it's a bit pie in the sky, if I'm honest. Nothing on Sky. Don't mean a thing. Rich says, late coming to the chat, so this is a bit of a shock. Surely this doesn't send a good message to the players, especially those who want to hold on to. Or does it say we want to go one better next year? They're only making the decision to improve things. It's there in their mind. This is for the betterment of Sheffield United, obviously. So the thing I would be concerned about is not the perception from the players that, oh no, it's a backward step, they're not a forward-thinking club. It's the perception of the players in terms of, I loved working with Chris Wilder, which might be more of the issue. When can we expect an official statement, says Josh? No idea, mate. No idea. I wasn't ready for when they've been so unpredictable for the last little while, really. I wasn't expecting the pre-season fixtures to drop when they did. As you know, at the time that they did, there were no sort of forewarning about that. I didn't expect the retained list to drop when it did. So no idea when this statement will drop. If it comes, again, it's not 100% confirmed, but I'm glad that it's starting to seep out elsewhere, because it does justify what we've been saying this morning. First on the Ramble. Do you think he'll get another club or even want one? This is a huge question, because I'm not sure he wants one. I think the fire will still be burning inside him, but he will not get, in his eyes, he will not get better than Sheffield United. I think he's done enough with us this season to get another decent championship job. I could see him going in somewhere like Bristol City, you know, and doing a really good job. But that's not the same level as Sheffield United. Would he want to finish on Sheffield United? Would he want to finish on Sheffield United getting the boot, essentially, which is probably what this is? So it's a huge question, and obviously one that only he can answer. Max asks me a question that I can't answer. What's the reason he's leaving, Jimmy? Board obviously wants to go in a different direction. Roll or Eustace for me, says Harvey. I don't think that's a bad shout at all, Eustace. There's some really good names to chuck in the mix, to be honest. First day off I've had in the week since before Christmas, and turn YouTube onto this. Cheers, Jimmy. Sorry, Adam. Sorry, mate. First day off you had in the week since before Christmas. My God, I thought I were working hard. I just get the feeling he wants to spend, and the owners are saying no again. Possibly, mate. Possibly, DT. It's not completely out of the question. Matt says Wilder's too mardy and brings the club a bad name with his outbursts and embarrassing nights out. I don't think so. He's human, isn't he? Chris says, I trust you implicitly, Jimmy. You've worked hard to build up your rep for bringing great Sheffield United content. Thank you, mate. You won't have gone all out to make this a live stream if you didn't trust your sources. Exactly. I'm relying on third parties now, but I do trust them. I do. Wilder's number 1 saying, thanks for breaking the news to us, Jimmy. The weekend has started early. Hope the Blades up the Ramble. Fraser says, I agree with others. He's had a very good season whilst also raising eyebrows multiple times through the season. My take is he's had the best chance to get this team promoted last season. I don't know if you finished that. I'd argue not regarding the takeover and the team turnaround. The season he would have had more. This season he would have had a more settled squad, finances, no takeover, and better understanding of how to fine tune the team and his tactics. That's true, mate. That's true. The next appointment will show the ambition of the club either way, says Jay. 17,200 people here. Unbelievable. One away from 8,300. No plan B. Mardy stubborn, thinks he's better than he is. Good luck getting another decent championship club. Harsh, Matt, from everything he's given to the club. You might not rate him or his recent stint at the club, but I don't think we have to be as harsh. And that's just my opinion. You're entitled to yours. I just think it's a bit scathing, that. Callum says, we've tried many times in the past with new managers. Not working. We need a passionate manager who will go with our club. The appointment needs to be spot on. Been a massive Wilder fan, but can also appreciate he has his faults and can only take us so far. The concern is we go backwards, though. Joe, I just identified our new manager in the Senegalese second tier. A Wilder is for life, not just for Christmas, says Uruguay White. Playing on the obvious wordplay. David Webster says it's about quality, not so-called passion. I agree with that. I think passion is a more of an idealistic want than a necessity, whereas quality is absolutely the necessity. We don't agree on much, David Webster, but I agree with you on that, pal. Harvey says, in my opinion, I think Wilder goes to a mid-championship team. He underachieves. I don't think he's capable of taking a squad that isn't a top 5 squad in the league to the top half of the table. Might find out. Nothing showing on news now. How true is this? I'm going with my sources, Bri. That's all I can do, mate. All I can do. I wouldn't be on if I didn't think it were true. Not 100% confirmed. This isn't a confirmation. I may have said it is earlier. If it proves to be right, if you go back and watch this, and it's proven to be right, the Ramble are confirming this. If it proves to be wrong, the Ramble never said we confirm this. All right, so that's the parameters that we're working with here. Flame Rider says this for me is disappointing. I hope it's not true. I feel like at this time he's the best for the rule. Rebuild, schmebuild, says Ab, in the most well put together argument, 2-word argument I've seen. Every club has to sign players. That's what Wilder's been saying all year to make sure everyone knows the amazing job he's done. He has done a good job. He has done a good job. We'd score 190 goals with Ange, says Harvey. We may also concede 180, but we'll see. What next for Wilder too, says Tim. Don't know. Brandon says Wilder is good for getting us up to the Prem, but we need a manager that can come in and help us stay in the Prem in the next 5 to 10 years and buy quality players that can compete in the Premier League. If that was the reasoning, Brandon, then why would you do it now? Why would you not wait till we get promoted? If you believe if the owners believe Wilder can get us up, why not stick with him to get us up and then make the change once we're up? Actually, I've seen a lot on Twitter now from a few accounts that it's due to the recruitment process which caused the fallout. Not sure how true it is. I'm told it's not at all to do with the recruitment. I'll caveat that. It's not due to the data-driven recruitment. So anybody that thinks it's due to the AI signings, that's not true. What it may be linked to is the budget that Wilder has for the first team. So it may be a recruitment conversation that I don't know about. What I do know is that it's not because he's upset with all these data-driven approach and all that sort of thing. If we're looking on a wider scale and they're saying you have to dip into the foreign market now for your main boys, so we're going to spend 5 million quid on an African league player or something like that, rather than getting, I don't know, Cameron Brannigan in, for example, something like that. It may be a recruitment issue in that respect, but at the moment, there's no issue from Chris Wilder with the existing data-driven signings that we've seen because they're not expected to be first-team players. So that is the situation we're in. 17,500 people live watching us on the Blades Ramble, and like 775 here are on on YouTube. The rest are on X. Come on, guys. Come over and give us a subscribe if you like what we're doing. It would be very much appreciated. You can jump back over to X and watch us on there if you need to. Max says, Gus has posted himself training in a United kit and also posted his child in a United kit. So I guess he loves it here. Gus is comfortable here. Gus is comfortable. Get him gone. The Oxford outburst got me. Bring in a modern manager, says Ab. Where is the next Iraola in Spain? I like the QPR manager, Cifuentes. He's not the Q. Well, he's on gardening leave into Cifuentes. I'm not sure he would be the wow signing that a lot of Blades would think is a huge upgrade on Chris Wilder. He's certainly a different type of manager, but he's not really achieved much, has he, to my knowledge? Thinking on, Chris has had a fair crack of the whip, says Steve. Maybe the time is right. This makes the season ahead huge for the new owners to turn up the Blades. Can you remember when Clough was sacked and Adkins was brought in? This has got this written all over it, says Sean. Oh, it's all because the new owners want to sell Jackie Longthrow, says Dave. Oh, dearie me. Go get Lampard, says Dan, the Leeds fan. That German guy whose name I can't spell, along with the fella who put out the cones and gave out the water, was with him at the Southampton, the PE teacher, sausage roll. Time for a Slav remontada. I assume that means return. Rooney's without a club. I really hope not, says Tom. No, mate. Don't worry about that. Maybe they appoint Professor X. Don't know what that is. As in who you're referring to when you call him Professor X. Chris says, Jimmy, you're going to have to stay on air all day to tell us who's coming straight in after the Wilder's departure is confirmed. I can't, mate. I've got a meeting in Sheffield today about another really exciting Ramble thing. So I will be back probably, no doubt, later on today. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll take Cooper or Lampard, says Gaz. New owners always like to put their own marker down, but they must have somebody in mind to come straight in. On X now, left by mutual consent. I think that's an old one. I think that's an old announcement. I may be wrong. Oh, nice of that person there. I can see that. Right, okay. X is a horrible place at times, isn't it? How some of you can watch on there, I've no idea. Really don't want Wilder to go, but I would love Gary O'Neill if he's gone, says Jake. Like the stream, guys. Quality content. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, mate. Personally would have got rid even if we went up. Not good enough tactically to give us a fighting chance in the Prem, says Joe. Do you think the owners will get a manager from abroad or not? No idea, mate. No idea. Haven't a clue. Does this mean the players on the list sign are all from owners, or were there Wilders? If so, do they start again with the new manager's ideas? Does this mean the players on the list sign? No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. It's the recruitment team that put the players forward. Pete O'Rourke reporting it now. Good as done, in my opinion. Someone want to tell that Tom Powell kid then that thinks I'm just jumping on for rumours and speculation for personal clout. Interesting. Don't like X. Don't like X. Yeah. Let's have a look. Was it his new contract based on promotion earlier in the season? No, Isaac. No, it wasn't. It was about the great run of form that we were on. And it was earned. It was deserved. I don't think a lot of people disagreed with it when he got his new contract. Ultimately, I think he's had a very, very good season. But when you strip it all back, he's failed from the objective. He would acknowledge that himself. You've got to put context into it, though. Everything that we've already mentioned in terms of the challenges that we had at our own football club. But we had two teams in the league that got 100 points. 92 points in any season other than the last two, because we ended up on 90 points because of the deduction. 90 points in any other season other than the last two would have got you promoted. So it's crazy. Absolutely devastated. Wilder is likely going, says Brad. Just hope we get the right replacement in. Would love Rossignol. I can't see it. Pep's probably available next summer. Yes, absolutely right. More chance of getting Angry Ginge than Big Ange. Max says Pete O'Rourke, formerly of Sky Sports, has just said the owners are having a meeting today to decide the future of Wilder. There you go. There you go. If it's true, it's a big call. The next appointment is vital. I guess it indicates they have a plan. But if we are below mid-table after the 15 games next season, it will affect the owner's credibility. Owners probably want a manager who they trust to spend big money. Wilder's signings have been generally good, with the exception of when he spent big, i.e. Cal Robinson, Ollie Mack and Brewster. Absolutely gutted about this. He's always been a United legend. Yeah, Berger, the obvious exception to a big money buy that came off well. Ramsdale ended up being a good buy for us as well, even though it was a huge downgrade on Henderson, in my opinion. We sold him for a big profit, didn't we? Pete O'Rourke said it isn't over yet, but there is a meeting today to decide his future. For me, I hope he gets sacked. Wow. I don't... Why would you have a meeting today? Why would it be like a deadline? I'd heard that the decision was going to be announced today. So we'll see. Jimmy, there's a £20 job from Pinderfields to Kirgit. Crack on. Jimmy, this is great content you put out. So ultimately, whether it happens or not, we will know today, won't we? We will know today, more than likely. Huge news for Sheffield United. I know it's a Marvel reference. I was just wondering whether you were sort of calling an existing manager Professor X that I didn't know. Anyway, surely the board have an idea of who to get in before considering Wilder going, unless it's a big fallout. I hope the owners know what they're doing. Don't want to end up doing a Birmingham. They look like they've come back stronger though, don't they? We certainly won't do a Birmingham in appointing Rooney. Don't worry about that. Promotion was the objective from January, not the summer. Shambles if he gets sacked. Yeah, that's fair. Fair point. Has anyone mentioned Nick Montgomery? Yes, they have. Not enough experience for me, but it would make a good number 2 and keep the connection with the fans. Just a thought. What about Roberto De Zerbi? What is going on with these shouts? Love Wilder, says Danny, but I was surprised at how we fell apart. A fragility I didn't really expect from a Wilder team. Thought since then it might be time. Wanted Will still though, so no idea now. What's all this hype about Rossinia? I just think he's a great manager, pal. I think he's a great manager. Personally, I'm quite happy with this news, says Dino. Think it's time for a change. Not going to be a popular decision among fans, but Dyche must be a contender. I would say so. Some people have short memories, says Bry. That's fair as well. Go full Jurgen Klopp. Yeah. The fact the media outlets are starting to pick up on the story means the ball is rolling at the minute and things are happening. I think so too, Scott, to be honest. Again, at least it's justification for us that there's a lot of merit to what we were saying. And that is a bit of a relief for me who depends on this now as a full-time content creator. What's Mick McCarthy doing nowadays? Can't get any worse. It can. Strange to sign a player yesterday and have a Wilder comment on the signing, then get shut the next day. There's got to be a cut-off point somewhere, though, aren't there, pal? You know, it might not have been made. The decision might not have been made at that time the statement was released, or even if it had, what else are you going to do? Delay the signing and say the club comments saying this? It's difficult, isn't it? The more it goes on, the more I'm feeling like he will stay. Likely the Manure and Eric Ten Hag situation last year. Maybe. I'd be pleased if he stays. I would like him to stay, but everything's pointing towards him going into it. Jimmy's in Sheffield. Wilder gets sacked. I have a meeting in Sheffield. It's happening, isn't it? Jimmy and ATB's the new management. Don't. There's already people turning on me, and I don't know what I've done, but people are turning on me, and so that would push them over the edge. You heard it here first, folks. Once you get this far and the news gets out, there's no coming back from this. Yeah, I agree. Oh, do you mean me? All right, okay. I hope not. Wilder is a rare unicorn in modern football as a fan of the club that's managing them. Any other Blades fans available that are half-decent coaches? I agree with that, Jimmy. He's a bit of a unicorn. Rossini signed a new deal middle of last season. Would be hard to attain. He'd be hard to attain anyway. I don't know if he got him in Europe, but he did a really good job, didn't he? Bulgarian manager incoming, based on data-driven approach. Apparently, the issue started when Wilder didn't know how to work ChatGPT. Can you imagine David Webster's reaction if he stays? Well, after I've put this video out, imagine my reaction, because people will accuse me of clickbaiting when it's genuinely not. I'm only coming on in full faith in what I've been told. That's why it's a question mark rather than an exclamation mark. I'm just putting that out there to the 18,500 people watching. Maybe Basham's charity game was a trial for Steve Bracknell as new manager. He had interesting tactics, to say the least. I remember Andy the Blade saying on Talking Sense that he was well aware of Wilder's faults. It seemed to me that the support for him was waning a little, even among people who supported him. Fair. Possibly, yeah. Possibly fair. I think some of his tactical decisions have been a little bit perplexing at times this season. That doesn't mean, just because you can question some decisions, though, that doesn't mean you don't think he's the best man for the job. Racine 100% sees what's happening on the pitch and makes tactical changes that work positively. Kev says, did you work the Uber on Monday night and get any jobs from to or from Ponty Races? Next meeting Sunday the 22nd. Give it a whirl if you didn't try last Monday, Jimmy. Okay, I may give it a try. I didn't. I haven't done much taxi work this week, I'll be honest. I've been trying to have a bit of a break from everything, but then something like this crops up and you have to jump on. If you're wrong, your reputation is down the pan. Possibly, but I'm coming on in good faith, telling you what I have been told, and I trust these people. So I understand the risk that I'm taking here. And I'll hold my hands up if I'm wrong. I'm not saying he has definitely gone. I'm saying I am hearing strong rumours that he has gone. It's not confirmation. It's more, I'm telling you now, there is no smoke without fire, and there is more than likely something. Well, there is definitely things happening behind the scenes. It would take a huge U-turn at this stage for things not to go that way. Stephen Robinson from St Mirren will be good. Is Alan Pardew still about? Mark says, just had a quick look at names out of work managers. Some good names out there, but not sure how many would be a good fit at the Lane, to be honest. I think there's a few. They don't have to be out of work either. It doesn't make sense for me. You risk losing the momentum from last season. I'm convinced if you keep him, you go up like we did last season. I agree. I think he'd do a good job if he were to stay. He's uncurbishly still favourite for every job. Alessandro says, maybe the board just testing waters. I'd rather keep Wilder and back him. If not, have to get it right. Matis, Cifuentes or Ruben Sellers, both good choices, but we'll push the De Rossi agenda. Anyone having a go at Jimmy? A bang out of it? Nah, it's all right. It's one of them things, right? It comes with territory, unfortunately. I've got to get a thicker skin. Is your source the tea lady, Jimmy? We'll wait and see that announcement on Instagram. Didn't they do that for something last season? Didn't the tea lady or somebody in catering posted something and it was either a signing or something like that? The inevitable Billy arrives. Surprised it took so long, only in S2. Steve says, this has to be a club decision, not a Wilder decision. I'd be very impressed if the replacement is already lined up. If not, it's a massive gamble. I think it's a gamble anyway, Steve, if it's truly what happens. Okay, I'm going to call it there. We've been going over 2 hours, 20 minutes with over 18,500 people in here. So it's a risky video for me to do this. It's not 100% confirmed, as I keep circling back to. There have been rumours that have been gathering pace throughout yesterday. Loads of people messaging me about it. And then today, late last night and early this morning, I've had two really strong sources who have never let me down, saying that, yes, I believe it to be true. The third source says, we'll have to talk later. There are definite decisions about Chris Wilder departing the football club ongoing. That we know. And it would take a huge U-turn now for them to change it. My mountain, love you. We'll wait and see. But I can only tell you, I am giving you this information in good faith. I'll have to take the stick that comes with it if it don't come off. But again, I'm trying not to clickbait people, because we never do that. I am just trying to spread the news that I am aware of, that I have got the nod from very credible sources to tell you that there is a very strong possibility that this happens. So we shall see. We'll wait and see. We'll probably know by the end of the day, won't we? If not sooner. So the fact that it's coming out in mainstream sources now tells me that there's a lot of merit to it. Thank you to the sources that have given me the information, because they've also given me it in good faith. Thank you to the nearly 19,000 now that are joining us on this stream. I am going to have to wrap it up. I would love to go to bed, but I've got to get to Sheffield, so I'm going to leave it there. if you're not already subscribed and you're enjoying the content, please come over and give us a subscribe. We have just tipped over 8,300 subs. We would love to be on 10,000 before the start of the season. It's a huge ask, but it would do wonders for the channel. So thank you to everybody that's joined us. And the usual way that we end these streams are, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades!